Chapter 1160. Lin Yuan paused and continued, "It's just that I need too many spatial spiritual materials to pass through the spatial tunnel at once. It's just that I need too many spatial spirit materials to pass through the spatial passageway. I only have enough spatial spirit materials on hand to go back and come back again. The next Celestial Body Conference will begin in 3 days. I have to make a trip back. Therefore, Uncle who can only lead the 5 of them in the early stage." Lin Yuan felt a little helpless. He would have to endure ultra-long-distance teleportation in the future, so it was fine to suffer that dizziness. He would get used to it after experiencing it a few more times. However, the spatial spiritual materials needed to pass through the spatial tunnel far exceeded Lin Yuan's expectations. Lin Yuan decided that his next goal in the Divine Wood Federation would be to focus on obtaining spatial spiritual materials. Otherwise, after a few trips, he would not even be able to satisfy the Celestial Council that happened once every 7 days. The Celestial Council was very easy for those who contracted the northern and southern constellations. As long as they entered the dream at a specific time, they could be introduced to the Celestial Council. However, those who sat on the 12 ecliptic constellations' main constellations needed to enter the Celestial Council with Wen-Yu's guidance before they could use the Celestial Council's functional astral throne. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Hu Quan nonchalantly reached out and patted the surrounding walls. "The progress of building the underground palace will be a little slower with 5 brats. However, as long as there are enough materials, we can build the general layout of the underground palace in half a month, not counting the details. But all this is based on the premise that the underground sand and stones are cleared. Without a special fey to clear out this underground space, it would be good if the few of us could dig out 50 square meters of space in a day." Upon hearing Hu Quan's words, Lin Yuan smiled slightly and replied, "That's simple. That's simple. Leave the matter of expanding the underground space to me. But before we do it, we need to go up and see the environment." After saying that, Lin Yuan nodded at Lu Jie. Upon seeing that, Lu Jie immediately summoned the Insect Queen and let it enter production mode. The Insect Queen turned into a huge insect nest and produced 10 hurricane owlet moths in a moment. After the 10 hurricane owlet moths were produced, Lu Jie let the Insect Queen return to the appearance of a fairy. Then, each of the 10 hurricane owlet moths grabbed a target and used their wings to raise a hurricane to blow away the cover covering the crypt. It brought Lin Yuan and the others to the surface. It was already a silent night in the Radiance Federation, but it was only noon in the Divine Wood Federation. It was the time when the sun was at its best. After being brought out of the cave by the hurricane owlet moth, Lin Yuan was shocked by the scene before him. Lin Yuan felt that he was in a primitive forest, and all sorts of tall plants entered his eyes. There was a huge tree less than 10 meters away from him. The tree was nearly 30 meters tall. Even if 5 people spread out their arms, they might not be able to hug the trunk of the tree. There were many such towering trees, almost one every 50 meters. Even in the gaps between these giant trees, there were many small trees and all kinds of plants growing savagely. At this moment, a little squirrel ran over in a panic from afar. Upon seeing Lin Yuan and the others, the little squirrel was startled. It then ran to Lin Yuan's side and sniffed his scent. Then, it ran to Lin Yuan's shoulder like a wisp of smoke. Suddenly, a ferocious beast's roar came from afar. Lin Yuan saw a long-haired dog-like fey that was over 1 meter long and covered in blackish-brown fur chasing over. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan immediately used Morbius True Data to investigate this long-haired dog-like fey. After investigating, Lin Yuan found out that this long-haired dog-like fey was a bronze 4/normal modeled hound. Its exclusive skill was mange poison. Mange poison. After the skin scars hidden under the long fur are broken, infectious pus will flow out. When the pus touches the target, it will infect the target, causing the target's skin to itch and fester. It could be said that this bronze-modeled hound had a very disgusting exclusive skill, and Lin Yuan did not want his skin to be infected with the mange poison. Upon seeing Lin Yuan and the others, the mottled hound barked non-stop. It was as though it was threatening Lin Yuan and the others. However, with so many people on Lin Yuan's side, the mottled hound obviously wanted to retreat. However, when it saw the squirrel lying on Lin Yuan's shoulder, it bared its fangs. Saliva flowed out of its open mouth, and it assumed a posture that it was ready to attack. Upon seeing this, Lu Jie commanded the hurricane owlet moth to blow the mottled hound away. A hurricane sent the mottled hound into the sky, and it was unknown how long it would take for it to land again. After the mottled hound flew into the sky, Lin Yuan tilted his head to observe the little squirrel on his shoulder. If it was in the past, Lin Yuan naturally would not use true data to investigate this inconspicuous little squirrel. However, now that he was in the Divine Wood Federation, fays were different due to the continent's different species. Lin Yuan had never seen this squirrel or the mottled hound in the Radiance Federation, so he was naturally interested. After investigating, Lin Yuan did not find any data at all. This meant that this little squirrel was not a fey at all. This discovery surprised Lin Yuan. This little squirrel was not even a fey, so how did it run past that swift mottled hound? Lin Yuan tentatively extended his hand to his shoulder, wanting to touch this little squirrel. As a result, this little squirrel immediately became vigilant and did not give Lin Yuan a chance to touch at all. The little squirrel agilely hid from Lin Yuan and started to hide from him. Just as Lu Jie wanted to help Lin Yuan catch the little squirrel, Lin Yuan circulated his spiritual power and waved his palm at the little squirrel. In the end, the little squirrel jumped onto Lin Yuan's palm as though it was clinging to him. It began to roll on his palm. Lin Yuan could only circulate his spirit qi for an instant. Thus, when the squirrel jumped onto Lin Yuan's palm, it could no longer sense the pure spirit qi in Lin Yuan's palm. The little squirrel was so anxious that it spun around on Lin Yuan's palm and curled up its paws before taking small steps. His small eyes were filled with doubt. While the little squirrel's eyes were filled with doubt, Lin Yuan's eyes were also filled with doubt. This little guy's reaction to pure spiritual energy was way too sensitive. He had only circulated his spiritual energy for a short period of time, so even the insect queen, who had always been sensitive to pure spiritual energy, did not sense it. Lin Yuan thought to himself when he saw the squirrel clinging to him. "All right, since you're clinging to me and not willing to leave, then stay with me." Lin Yuan planned to have a good look at this little squirrel's special features when he had time. He would try to channel pure spirit qi into this little squirrel's body and see if it would obtain abilities and transform into a fey like Genius and Chimey. Chapter 1161. While Lin Yuan was observing the little squirrel, Hu Quan had already checked the surroundings. Hu Quan said in surprise, "Young master, the surrounding trees are all ironwood. These ironwoods are far more useful than metal scraps after they're crushed. Ironwood is sticky, and when mixed with gravel, it can make the gravel as flexible and malleable as metal. The landscape here is a forest, so there must be a water source deep underground. Ironwood fragments mixed with sand and stones can be spread on the outermost layer of the underground palace to effectively keep out water. Also, ironwood won't rust and corrode like metal spirit materials for a long time." Since Hu Quan had said that, Lin Yuan immediately shook his sleeves. The amber button-shaped source sand landed on the ground and turned into sand grains that drilled into the ground under Lin Yuan's feet. The source sand was no longer a gold/fantasy breed fey. He had already upgraded the source sand to Diamond I/Fantasy 2. Therefore, it was a piece of cake for the source sand to change the underground environment. Sand creation was the most basic ability of the source sand. Soon, the guard sand swept up a large amount of sand like a giant dragon and swept up the land under Lin Yuan's feet. With the portal formed by the space tunnel as the center, it quickly crushed the sand and stones 10 meters below the ground. At the same time, the source sand extracted the roots of the ironwood from the gravel. As the sand flowed, all the ironwood trees within a 2-kilometer radius were gathered together. These ironwood were the materials that Hu Quan would need to build the underground palace. At the same time, Lu Jie let the 10 hurricane owlet moths probe in 10 directions. Lu Jie sensed what the 10 hurricane owlet moths were seeing through his mental connection with the insect queen. He then took a piece of paper and a pen out of his diamond fey storage box and drew a simple map of the surroundings. In the process of commanding the source sand to transform the underground environment, He also let it transform the surface environment. However, Lin Yuan's modification of the ground environment was only 1 meter thick. The remaining 9 meters were soil mixed with sand and gravel. Once he got busy, for hours had passed unknowingly. During this period, he released Little Black and let it use spirit injection on him and Lu Jie every few minutes. Blackie was now a diamond/fantasy breed fae. Therefore, even if he wantonly urged the source sand to change the terrain, the spirit chi would always be maintained at a half-full state. He had already transformed the surface and underground topography within a 2-kilometer radius. Lin Yuan's modification of the surface was also very meticulous. This was because the remodeling of the surface of the earth would affect Inhua's progress in nurturing the bone lotuses. It was undoubtedly more convenient for the bone lotus to move around in the sand than in the wet and sticky soil. In essence, the bone lotus was a derivative of the silver essence, and it fed on souls. There was no need to obtain nutrients from the soil. After working for 4 hours in a row, Lin Yuan's body had maintained sufficient spiritual power. However, he still felt very tired after controlling the source sand to transform the surface and underground terrain for 4 hours. Lin Yuan said to Hu Quan, who was making metal racks with the 5 spirit craftsmen, "Uncle Hu, you can go underground and build the framework of the underground palace now. You guys have to work hard during this period of time. You must build the framework as soon as possible. Otherwise, if there are a few heavy rains and the water seeps into the ground, making it wet, it will be very dirty and troublesome for you to carry out your work." After saying that, Lin Yuan looked at Feng Shuang, Old He, and Hu Tian, who had been standing behind him and did not dare to make a sound. "The 3 of you, go and help too. Hu Tian, your phase can play a big role in the process of building the underground palace's framework. Feng Shuang, Old He, your phase might not be very useful, but you can help out a little." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Feng Shuang, Old He, and Hu Tian were shocked. From the conversation between Lin Yuan and the others, the 3 of them knew that they were in the Divine Wood Federation. Although the 3 of them were Class 4 creation masters, they had good insight. However, in their understanding, the only way to cross the Federation was through the Island Whale. Obviously, Lin Yuan had not come to the Divine Wood Federation through the Island Whale. This made the 3 of them feel that Lin Yuan had become more mysterious. Moreover, Feng Shuang had recognized Lu Jie when he had just entered the treasure cave Golden Toad. Hu Tian and Old He had also recognized Lu Jie after he had summoned the Insect Queen. The 3 of them were secretly guessing in their hearts. Could it be that Lu Jie, a Radiance 100 sequence member, had also joined Sky City? Was he a member of Sky City? While the 3 of them were still in shock, their minds were spinning rapidly. The trio had been thinking about how to strike up a conversation with Lin Yuan and express themselves. In a new environment, Lin Yuan did not bring any creation masters and only brought 6 spirit craftsmen. The 3 of them thought that they were about to be put in an important position. However, not only had Lin Yuan not put them in an important position, but he had also asked them to be the spirit craftsmen's assistants. This was the first time the trio was doubting if a creation master was a noble occupation. However, even if the 3 of them were unwilling to assist the spirit craftsmen, they had no choice but to carry out Lin Yuan's orders. Hu Tian, who believed that he had the best relationship with Lin Yuan and was most valued by Lin Yuan, asked carefully, "Master, are we going to hide from the world here from now on?" Lin Yuan shook his head in response. "This is not a place for you 3 to hide from the world. The 3 of you don't have any devious thoughts. Just focus on the work you've been assigned. Once we reach the place of seclusion, we will need to do these chores. I don't lack creation master resources here. The 3 of you might be Class 4 creation masters, but doing these chores will be more useful to me than doing other things." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Hu Tian, Feng Shuang, and Old He were completely dumbfounded. The trio finally understood that Lin Yuan did not take their identities as Class 4 creation masters seriously at all. How many creation master resources did Sky City have? That was why Lin Yuan was willing to let the 3 of them not concoct the spirit fluid but work hard here. Feng Shuang gritted her teeth and summoned her land emperor crocodile. She asked the Land Emperor Crocodile to take the initiative to transport the metal frame that Hu Quan and the others had just set up in 4 hours. Seeing that Feng Shuang was the first to move, Lin Yuan said, "Feng Shuang, you did well. Feng Shuang, you did well. As a reward, when your Fei evolves, regardless of whether you need to undergo the world cleansing or the creation tribulation, I will send someone to help you get through them safely." While speaking, Lin Yuan threw 5 Earth-type Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls to Feng Shuang as a reward. Chapter 1162. Upon receiving Lin Yuan's praise, Feng Shuang's face immediately revealed an abnormally surprised expression. He repeatedly expressed his sincerity to Lin Yuan. In addition, Lin Yuan's reward of 5 Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls made Hu Tian and Old He envious. He put in all his effort and threw himself into the work of assisting the spirit craftsman. Lu Jie, who had been drawing a map with the help of the hurricane owlet moths, suddenly spoke. "Lin Yuan, I have almost mapped out the area within 50 kilometers in 4 hours. According to my detection, there is a town 50 kilometers to the east. There are a large number of natives of the Divine Wood Federation living in this town. There's nothing special in the west and south within 100 kilometers. It's still a lush forest. However, the water vapor in the environment 50 kilometers to the south is clearly much heavier. There should be a relatively large inland lake in the south. Head north for 90 kilometers and you'll reach the edge of the forest. The environment outside the edge of the forest is obviously much more desolate, as if there is a clear dividing line. One end of the dividing line is overgrown with trees, while the other end is terrifyingly barren, with almost no vegetation growing. Less than 5 kilometers away from the demarcation line, I saw a large number of tents stationed there," Wang Zhong said. "There are all kinds of stalls outside these tents. It's like a huge market. The vendors at the market all have black hair and black eyes. Most of the sellers look rough and they wear leather jackets. From the looks of it, it should be the caravan of the Deep Lush Federation at the edge of the forest, using the specialties obtained from the Divine Wood Federation to trade with the people of the Iron Hammer Federation to earn the difference in price." When Lin Yuan heard Lu Jie talk about exploring the environment, he came to Lu Jie's side. He sat cross-legged like Lu Jie, listening to Lu Jie's explanation while looking at the map in his hand. Lu Jie wasn't a professional mapmaker. However, Lu Jie, who had gone on many missions in the wild in his early years, had no problem drawing a simple geographical environment. Lu Jie had also specially marked some noteworthy places within a 50-kilometer radius. He had been thinking about how long it would take for him to see human habitation after he arrived in the Divine Wood Federation. However, he did not expect that not only was there a town of the Divine Wood Federation 50 kilometers to the east, but there was also a market organized by the Deep Lush Federation's caravan 95 kilometers to the north. He was still wondering why he had not encountered any powerful fays in this deep mountain forest. While Lin Yuan was controlling the source sand to transform the land within a 2-kilometer radius, he discovered that the strongest fay was just a silver centipede hidden under the soil. Now the case was finally solved. Looking at the map drawn by Lu Jie, the location of his underground palace happened to be on the shortest route from the eastern town to the northern border. If the Deep Lush Federation's caravans wanted to make a profit, they would have to travel between the northern border and the eastern town. They used the Iron Hammer Federation's resources to trade with the natives of the Divine Wood Federation, or used the Divine Wood Federation's resources to trade with the Iron Hammer Federation's traders who traveled to and from the border. After all, given the tense relationship between the Iron Hammer Federation and the Divine Wood Federation, the merchants of the Iron Hammer Federation did not have the guts to directly trade in the towns of the Divine Wood Federation. If the two sides wanted to exchange goods, they would have to pass through the Deep Vendor Federation's caravans. It seemed that this forest had already been swept through countless times by the city's 50 kilometers to the east and the caravan's 95 kilometers to the north. Lin Yuan's top priority now was to see if he could get some spatial spiritual materials. According to the environment that Lu Jie had scouted, he now had 2 choices. The first choice was to go to a town in the Divine Wood Federation 50 kilometers to the east to inquire. The other option was to take advantage of the ongoing gathering and ask the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan. Both he and Lu Jie had black hair and black eyes, so it was not convenient for them to walk in the towns of the Divine Wood Federation. Hence, it was more reliable to head to the Deep Lush Federation's merchant caravans to gather information. Lin Yuan asked excitedly, "Brother Lu, is the scale of the trade caravan gathering 95 li to the north big?" Lu Jie shook his head. "I can't tell how many people are in those tents with my hurricane owlet moth. However, there are only 200 to 300 stalls outside the tents. The scale is about the same as the small supply stations in the Class 2-dimensional rifts that are controlled by our Radiance Federation." Lin Yuan was immediately a little disappointed. The Radiance Federation had ostrich logistics and the Star Web, and basic resources could be easily purchased on the Star Web. Therefore, it was very difficult to operate physical stores or stalls in the Radiance Federation. It was just like Lin Yuan's Fei store, which could only provide food and clothing. Lin Yuan still had to rely on his old neighbors, Auntie Zhang and Uncle Li, to take care of him. However, the Divine Wood Federation was different. Even if the Divine Wood Federation had a faction like Ostrich Logistics that could deliver goods in the Federation within 3 hours. Without the Star Web, it was impossible to replicate the Radiance Federation's trade model. Moreover, the Divine Wood Federation might not necessarily have a faction like Ostrich Logistics. The Divine Wood Federation and even the entire Agon continent basically adopted the trade model of setting up stalls for bartering or auctioning by large chambers of commerce. In this trade context, a small gathering of 200 to 300 stalls was really nothing. Lin Yuan felt that there should be no hope for him to trade for spatial spiritual materials from this small gathering. However, Lin Yuan was not depressed. At the very least, he could come into contact with the Agon continent's natives as soon as possible and gather all kinds of information about the continent from them. In addition, the Deep Lush Federation's merchant caravans traveled all over the world, and this inconspicuous small caravan might know some channels. It could solve the problem of his lack of spatial spiritual materials. He would no longer have to worry about traveling between the Radiance Federation and the Divine Wood Federation. Just as Lin Yuan was about to suggest to Lu Jie that they go to the gathering 95 kilometers north to inquire about information and trade some resources, Lu Jie suddenly had a surprised expression on his face. The hurricane owlet moth found 5 figures when it was patrolling in the east. These 5 people are covered with half-body rattan armor woven from plant vines. It looks like they should be adventurers from the Divine Wood Federation. However, these 5 people shouldn't be adventurers from the town 65 kilometers away. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan felt a little strange and did not know what Lu Jie's judgment was based on. The adventurers from the Divine Wood Federation town 65 kilometers to the east were fully capable of traveling 40 kilometers. They were hunting fays or gathering spiritual materials 40 kilometers away. Upon seeing the puzzled expression on Lin Yuan's face, Lu Jie explained, "A small pond can't raise a big fish. The rattan armor worn by the guards in that town isn't as advanced as the rattan armor worn by these 5 adventurers. This doesn't make sense." End of this chapter. Chapter 1163. Lu Jie pondered for a moment before continuing. "I'll let the hurricane owlet moths keep an eye on these 5 people and find out their purpose." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nodded and continued to look at Lu Jie's hand-drawn map. He did not mention the proposal to go to the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan gathering to inquire about information. Instead, he was going to wait for Lu Jie to find out the purpose of these 5 adventurers. After less than 10 minutes, Lu Jie said with a serious expression, "Lin Yuan, there's really something wrong with these 5 people. Lin Yuan, there's really something wrong with these 5 people. They don't care about the spiritual materials on the ground at all and only care about hurrying on their way. They also observe their surroundings very carefully. This means that these 5 people don't know their surroundings well. If I'm not wrong, these 5 people should be exploring the way." Exploring the way? If they were exploring the way, there must be more people behind. If a team could send 5 people to explore the way, it meant that this team must not be small. Lin Yuan did not expect to encounter such a situation as soon as he arrived in the Divine Wood Federation. Big Brother Lu, let a hurricane owlet moth keep an eye on them. The remaining hurricane owlet moths will expand the search area. If these people are exploring the way, the main force shouldn't be too far away. If there's really a main force behind, then we'll capture these 5 people to get information about the main force. Hee, only the person with the highest status in the main force can bring us more useful information. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Lu Jie immediately took action. While Lu Jie was acting, Lin Yuan did not stay idle. He also let the source sand under his feet split into thumb-sized sand flows that spread in all directions. The more yellow sand he created, the stronger the source sand would be. It was not bad for Lin Yuan to create more sand now. After half an hour, Lu Jie's eyes lit up. 140 kilometers to the east, there are about 300 adventurers. These adventurers are wearing rattan armor, which is almost the same as the 5 adventurers who explored the way. It seems that the rattan armor they're wearing is a kind of standard equipment. There's a huge elephant beast in the other team of 300 adventurers. I don't know who it's carrying. The Divine Wood Federation's adventurers are very respectful to this person. I think this person has an extraordinary identity. Moreover, the 5 adventurers we just discovered are also rushing in our direction. It doesn't seem like the 5 of them intend to stop at a town 65 kilometers away. I'll bring them over now. Upon hearing Lu Jie's information, Lin Yuan thought to himself, this team should not be very strong. Otherwise, they would have discovered the hurricane owlet moths produced by Lu Jie's insect queen. At the thought of this, Lin Yuan was slightly startled and then smiled in relief. He had seen many king and emperor-level powerhouses, so he had subconsciously gotten used to looking at things from a higher perspective. This godforsaken place wasn't even the Divine Wood Federation's big cities. How could there be any powerful spirit chi professionals? Soon, the hurricane owlet moth used the wind element to condense a chain and brought the 5 spies, who were wearing rattan armor and had been scared silly, to within 1 kilometer of them. Then, Hurricane Knight left the 5 scouts behind and flew away. One of the scouts with a scar on his face wiped the saliva on his forehead from being lifted upside down. With a lingering fear, he stood up and cursed. Fuck! How strange! How can such a small place have such a powerful insect species flying fey? I don't know where we've been brought to and if we will delay Miss Luo Ye's mission. While the man with a scar on his face was complaining angrily, the other scout, who was as thin as a bamboo pole, also came back to his senses. We've been flying in the air for at least 20 minutes. When we were flying, I saw double images of the surrounding scenery. If that dog bug had flown in a straight line, we would have been pulled out at least 50 kilometers away. After saying that, the man who was as thin as a bamboo pole raised his hand skillfully and gave the other 3 companions, who hadn't come back to their senses, a slap on their necks. In an instant, the 3 companions' necks were red. The skinny man pointed to the youngest and richest fatty among them and said, "Fatty, it's you. You'll make the call to report the situation. Then we'll rush back immediately. I think Miss Luo Ye will be able to understand if we suddenly encountered a high-grade insect species flying fey and delayed the mission." At the end of his sentence, the skinny man clearly didn't have any confidence. When the fatty who was assigned to make the call heard the skinny man's words, his teeth couldn't help but tremble. "Brother Snake, I will make a call to report the situation. My mouth is so clumsy. What if I say something wrong during the report and make Miss Luo Ye angry?" The skinny man thought to himself. "You're speaking as if Miss Luo Ye wouldn't be angry if you weren't stupid with your mouth." Seeing that Fatty didn't want to make the call, the skinny man went up and gave him 2 kicks. Fatty, who had been kicked twice by the skinny man, had no choice but to pick up his phone reluctantly and make a call. After Fatty made the call, the 5 of them, including the skinny man, all had gloomy expressions on their faces. The scarred man couldn't help but ask, "It's over. This time, each of us will receive at least 5 vine whips." As he spoke, the scarred man's eyes suddenly lit up. This was because the man with a scar on his face had noticed Lin Yuan and Lu Jie walking toward him. The man with a scar on his face immediately revealed a bloodthirsty smile and said to the skinny man standing beside him, Brother Snake, our mission this time is to find the Deep Burn Federation's caravan on the border. Look at those two people. They might be members of the Deep Burn Federation's caravan. Before the scarred man spoke, the skinny man, Brother Snake, had already stared at Lin Yuan and Lu Jie. If we capture these two people back, not only will we not be punished, but we might even be rewarded. These two people look good. If we bring them back, Miss Luoya will definitely have a good time. After saying that, the skinny man summoned a 5-meter-long snake-shaped fey and attacked Lin Yuan and Lu Jie. When the skinny man summoned the snake-shaped fey, Lin Yuan had already used Morbius True Data to investigate it. It was a bronze 9/normal chain snake. Its ability was Binding Lock, which could bind and control the target. Its exclusive skill was Body Extension. When binding the target, it could extend the cartilage in the body and make the body longer. It could lock multiple targets at the same time. When Lu Jie saw the fey attacking Lin Yuan, he immediately prepared to counterattack. Just as Lu Jie was about to circulate his spiritual energy and summon the punching machine, Lin Yuan winked at Lu Jie meaningfully. Upon seeing this, Lu Jie did not summon the insect queen. At that moment, the chain snake was already close, and it impolitely used entanglement on Lin Yuan and Lu Jie. Chapter 1164. The chain snake stretched its body and tied Lin Yuan's and Lu Jie's arms and legs together. The skinny man, Big Brother Snake, also walked up with the other 4 scouts. Big Brother Snake bent down and carefully sized up Lin Yuan and Lu Jie. So handsome. With your looks, you should be qualified to serve Miss Luoya. You've become Miss Luoya's dinner plate. Upon hearing the skinny man's words, many small question marks appeared in Lin Yuan's head. He could understand serving that person named Luoya. But what did it mean to be a dinner plate? It couldn't be what I thought it meant, right? After checking Lin Yuan's and Lu Jie's appearances like goods, the skinny man patted the man with a scar on his face beside him and said, "Old Six, interrogate the 2 of them before taking them back. Old Six, interrogate the 2 of them before you bring them back. Find out who they are. If we get something out, we can go back and provide the information. We might even get more rewards. Miss Luoya is quite generous when rewarding people." The man with a scar on his face, Old Lu, immediately summoned a plant fey with clamp-like leaves. He said to Lu Jie and Lin Yuan with a sinister expression, "I'll ask you questions. I'll ask you a question. If you answer too slowly, you'll be pinched by my steel clip once. You're all Miss Luoya's toys. I'll pay attention to the strength and not break your legs. But I don't know if you can clamp your bones out of cracks. Anyway, Miss Luoya wants your faces, not your legs." As Old Six spoke, he even made his steel clip flower clamp its leaves twice, looking quite intimidating. Lin Yuan looked at the steel clip flower in front of him and was too lazy to use True Data to check its attributes. This steel clamp flower looked like an extremely mediocre bronze fey. Lin Yuan did not directly make a move on this group of people, mainly wanting to take this opportunity to see the Divine Wood Federation's natives' attitude toward the Deep Brahmin Federation's people. He and Lu Jie did not do anything or say anything. As soon as they met, they were captured by the 5 adventurers in front of them. Lin Yuan could not help but be surprised. The Divine Wood Federation's natives' attitude toward the Deep Brahmin Federation's people shouldn't be so bad, right? It seemed that he and Lu Jie had been captured and made into slaves. After all, if the natives of the Divine Wood Federation wanted to obtain minerals, metals, and even large amounts of animal fur, they would need to trade with the caravans of the Deep Brahmin Federation. When Old Six saw that Lin Yuan and Lu Jie did not say anything, he thought that they were frightened by him. Old Six wanted to ask a question first. If the 2 of them didn't say anything after he asked the questions, he would teach them a lesson first. After being taught a lesson, the 2 of them would probably fight to spit out everything they knew. "When will your caravan return?" When Lin Yuan heard the scarred man's question, he immediately knew what was going on. It seemed like this group of people were heading for the Deep Vendor Federation's Chamber of Commerce 95 kilometers north. He didn't know that these people's goal was to rob the caravan's supplies. Or did he want to silence the Deep Lush Federation's caravan and frame the Iron Hammer Federation? In any case, he knew that he was destined to be unable to find out from these people the attitude of the Divine Wood Federation's natives toward the people of the Deep Lush Federation. In that case, there was no need for him to continue playing with these people. After waiting for 5 seconds and seeing that neither Lu Jie nor Lin Yuan had answered his question, Old Six said, "That's right." He ordered clipped flower with a ferocious expression. Steel clamp flower. First use the clamp force of 25 gene to teach these two things a lesson. I think these two people. Before Old Six could finish, he was interrupted by Fatty, who was frowning. Brother Snake, look at the two of them. They didn't even frown when we caught them. Isn't there something wrong? Fatty's words reminded the skinny man, Brother Snake. As the leader of the scouting team, the skinny man, Big Brother Snake, had encountered plenty of Fays during missions. High-grade Fays would either attack and kill humans or hide far away. There was no such thing as an inexplicable release after capturing someone. Furthermore, that moth Fay that had captured them did not feed on flesh and blood, so there was no need for it to capture them. After they were captured, the two men from the Deep Lush Federation quickly appeared. This was too much of a coincidence. With that in mind, the skinny man immediately ordered his Fay, the chain snake, to crush Lu Jie and Lin Yuan's bodies. At that moment, the skinny man suddenly realized that he had lost control of his chain snake. It was unknown when two sand pillars had appeared under the feet of the two men from the Deep Lush Federation. The two sand pillars tightly bound the chain snake. After Lin Yuan pulled Lu Jie to stand up, he looked at the 5 people in front of him and raised his brows. You wanted to ask us questions just now. Now that time has changed, it's my turn to ask you questions. While the 5 spies were still in shock, Lin Yuan stomped on the ground and shouted, "Just now, you wanted to ask us questions." Oil, source sand. Immediately after, a quicksand vortex with a diameter of 0.5 meter appeared under each of the 5 spies' feet. The 5 spies struggled in the quicksand vortex, and each of them was tightly bound by 2 thumb-sized sand flows. The sand flow separated into several even finer quicksand that drilled into the 5 spies' rattan armor. After searching the 5 spies' bodies from inside out, they only found 5 mobile phones. The sand flow wrapped around the phones and handed them to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan chose 2 of the better-looking phones and threw one to Lu Jie, while he held the other in his hand. The other 3 phones were crushed by the sand flow. Lu Jie also waved his hand, and the hurricane owlet moth, which had just brought the 5 of them here, stopped in his palm. Upon seeing this, the 5 spies' teeth trembled violently. That moth-type Fey that had brought them here had indeed not appeared by chance. Thinking of what they had just said, the 5 of them had bitter expressions on their faces. The 5 of them understood that they were completely finished this time. Lin Yuan looked at the 5 people with ashen faces and said, "I'll ask each of you one question. I will ask each of you one question. If you answer me well, I will give the 5 of you a chance to live. The sand stream that binds you is much stronger than that bronze-chained snake." Lin Yuan first walked in front of the 5 people who were trembling the most and asked, "Why are you looking for the Deep Lush Federation's caravan? Why are you looking for the Deep Lush Federation's caravan?" When the person who was trembling the most heard Lin Yuan's question, he subconsciously looked at the other 4. He was obviously concerned about the other 4 and did not dare to answer Lin Yuan's question. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan immediately commanded the source sand to separate out the platinum red lotus soft gold that metal consume manifestation had devoured. When the red lotus soft gold touched the body, it would cause severe pain from multiple levels. Even Muscle Man would cry if he touched it. Hundreds of red lotus soft gold silk threads separated from the 2 sand flows, wrapping the man Lin Yuan was questioning into a cocoon. Chapter 1165. A heart-wrenching cry echoed from the cocoon for close to 10 seconds. Lin Yuan allowed the source sand to absorb the red lotus soft gold and released the man that was wrapped in the red lotus soft gold. After being released by Lin Yuan, the man's face was covered in tears as though he had just been ravaged by something indescribable. Before Lin Yuan could ask again, the man trembled and said, "We are from the Dry Cliff Bandits. We're from the Withered Cliff Bandits. Our goal is to steal all of the Deep Creek Caravan's resources. We want to kill all the Deep Refined Caravan's members and frame the Iron Hammer Federation. This is so that the other caravans in the Deep Refined Federation will be afraid to hold a gathering in the Iron Hammer Federation's territory. Miss Luoya is a noble daughter of a 2-star family and a Class 1 creation master. She is also the vice leader of our Dry Cliff Bandit King group. Boss, I'm begging you. I'll tell you everything I know. Don't kill me. Leave me here. I'll do anything you want. I can make a dinner plate for you. Lin Yuan grinned. Don't make a dinner plate. How can I eat if you make a dinner plate for me? Suppressing the disgust in his heart, Lin Yuan looked playfully at the other 4 Dry Cliff Bandit King group members who were waiting for his questions. He noticed that the 4 Dry Cliff Bandit King group members' faces were pale. It was obvious that he was frightened by the crying of the man he was talking to. Lin Yuan originally thought that he would need to use some tricks if he wanted to get some actual information. He didn't expect that as soon as he used his tricks, the other party would clean up. There was nothing else he wanted to know. Based on the information he had obtained, Lin Yuan immediately thought of a way to get close to the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravans that were 95 kilometers away and gain their trust. Lin Yuan knew that the 5 people in front of him were cowards. He couldn't easily return between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. The 5 of them might not be spirit craftsmen, but they could speed up the underground palace's construction by doing some manual labor under Huquan. Without their cell phones, it meant that they had no way to communicate with the outside world. Therefore, Lin Yuan didn't need to hide anything from them. After a round of threats and no sweet dates, the 5 of them were sent underground by Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was not afraid that the 5 of them would not work if he did not give them some benefits. Huquan did not even need to do anything. In order to curry favor with him, Feng Shuang, Old He, and Hu Tian would fight to arrange things clearly for the 5 of them. After arranging the 5 free laborers, Lin Yuan looked at Lu Jie and said, "Brother Lu, I'll have to trouble you to accompany me to put on a show." Lin Yuan explained his plan to Lu Jie in detail. Upon hearing that, Lu Jie took out 2 sets of clothes from the Diamond Fei storage box. "If we're going to put on a show, we'll have to go all the way. Only then will it look realistic." When Lu Jie handed him the clothes, Lin Yuan gave him a thumbs up. "Sure, Brother Lu." Professional. The clothes that Lu Jie gave Lin Yuan looked very luxurious but were very tacky in Lin Yuan's eyes. Under normal circumstances, Spirit Chi professionals with true wealth and taste would wear Spirit Chi clothes that were relatively simple in design. The preciousness was mostly reflected in the materials used or the details of the engravings. The Spirit Chi clothing in Lin Yuan's hand was embroidered with a few very obvious colored gems. These gems were not expensive and could be found in Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rifts. This kind of item produced from the underground dimensional rift could be used in any continent. Thus, even if he met someone with ulterior motives, he wouldn't be suspected. Lin Yuan put on the clothes in a few moments and said, "That's right. Brother Lu, come and help me make a few more cuts on this shirt, so that I can look a little more pathetic." Upon hearing that, Lu Jie reached out and scratched his head. He was very resistant to making a move on Lin Yuan, even if Lin Yuan had taken the initiative to do so. In the end, Lu Jie summoned the insect queen and had it produce a normal flesh-mincing blade insect. He then ordered the flesh-mincing blade insect to gently make nearly 20 cuts of different sizes on Lin Yuan's clothes. The hurricane owlet moth raised a few more gusts of wind, messing up Lin Yuan's hair and clothes. After a series of actions, Lu Jie said with some hesitation, "Done. But Lin Yuan, I keep feeling that something is wrong. This shirt looks extravagant and old-fashioned. People with real foundations won't take a fancy to it, but people without foundations will especially pursue it. There's no problem with the choice of clothes. It looks pathetic after it's torn. When you wear it, your temperament will support this shirt, and the old-fashioned feeling of this shirt will disappear. You don't look like a young master of a small family clan who has been attacked and is fleeing." The more Lu Jie looked at Lin Yuan, the more he felt that Lin Yuan's temperament was top-notch. What Lu Jie was most worried about now was that Lin Yuan would wear this shirt with more than 20 cuts to find Luoya and let her know the location of the Deep Brahmin Federation. What if Luoya could not resist the temptation and did Lin Yuan first regardless of anything? Although Lu Jie had never been to the Divine Wood Federation, he had read a lot of information about it. The Divine Wood Federation's openness was unimaginable to the Radiance Federation's unmarried girls. Even the ravenous old aunties in their 40s and 50s had to admit defeat. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan reached out and grabbed a handful of soil from the ground and wiped it twice on his face. Then he rubbed his muddy palms on his body. After Lin Yuan saw his appearance through the Source Sand's chainsword, he said with a bright smile, "Doesn't it look much better this time?" Lu Jie originally wanted to tell Lin Yuan, "Even if you smeared dirt on your body and face, the black soil would only make one's skin appear whiter, but it wouldn't lower one's temperament." Lu Jie was about to speak when he realized that Lin Yuan's temperament had suddenly changed. Not only did his aura weaken, but the expression on his face also looked so weak and helpless. There was also a trace of innocence and a sense of awkwardness. Lin Yuan's aura was in place, but the current Lin Yuan was many times more attractive than before. When Lu Jie saw Lin Yuan's appearance, he could not help but walk forward and grab a few more handfuls of soil, rubbing large pieces of soil on Lin Yuan's clothes and pants. After dirtying Lin Yuan's clothes, Lu Jie still did not stop. He then patted some muddy black soil on Lin Yuan's face and neck before stopping. Finally, Lu Jie let the insect queen self-destruct the newly hatched flesh-mincing blade insects, and the insect fluid splashed all over Lin Yuan. It stained Lin Yuan's body with the fishy smell of the insect's internal organs. Lu Jie thought to himself, Luoya, who always treats people like a plate, shouldn't attack Lin Yuan as soon as they meet. Lin Yuan let Lu Jie transform him. End of this chapter. Chapter 1166. Lin Yuan said after Lu Jie was done with the modification, "Brother Lu, have the hurricane owlet moths keep an eye on the withered cliff bandits. The dry cliff bandits are getting tired of waiting for those 5 fellows to return. I'll make my move after the main force has advanced. Then wait for me near the Deep Revel Caravans Market. Since the withered cliff bandits are heading straight for the border, the Deep Revel Caravan must be absolutely confident. When the two sides start fighting, and the Deep Vendor Federation's caravans are mostly dead and unable to resist, you can come and take care of the situation." Lu Jie said, "According to your plan, I will deliberately let go of Luoya from the 2-star family of the Dry Cliff Bandits, and use the insect swarm to drive Roha towards the underground palace." While speaking, Lu Jie could not help but sigh inwardly at Lin Yuan's plan. Both he and Lin Yuan were powerful, so it would be easy for them to stir up trouble in this world. But since they had just arrived, only a reckless person would act rashly without understanding the situation. He currently needed to obtain spatial spiritual materials on the Agro Pattern Road. If they acted rashly based on their strength, it was very likely that they would become the common enemy of the Divine Wood, Iron Hammer, and the Deep Lush Federation. In this way, it would be very difficult for Sky City to develop in the Agawan continent. It was said that the 3 major federations didn't have any Class 5 creation masters, but this was just what the 3 major federations claimed. If the 3 major federations wanted to hide the information, even if they had Class 5 creation masters, outsiders would not be able to find out. Therefore, no matter what, he had to build a network of connections in the Ahiwan continent according to plan. Only with strength and connections would one be able to pursue the greatest development in the Awen continent. According to Lin Yuan's plan, he would be the savior of the Deep Brahmin Federation's caravan 95 kilometers north. It would be easy to dig out information from this small caravan of the Deep Burn Federation. Moreover, he was likely to come into contact with larger caravans through this small caravan. At that time, his rewards would be far more than just being the savior of this small caravan. As for letting Luoya go without killing Luoya, he could also get a wave of information from Luoya. With intelligence from both sides, the situation within a 500-kilometer radius would be easily grasped. It would also be easier for him to formulate his next plan. While Lu Jie was monitoring the Dry Cliff Bandits through the Hurricane Owlet Moths, he had plenty of free time. Lin Yuan felt that he might be good at acting, but if he appeared in front of the Dry Cliff Bandits in ragged clothes, he would definitely arouse suspicion. There were very few powerful fays in this forest, and it wouldn't be easy for him to end up in such a sorry state. This dimensional rift was the best reason. The existence of the dimensional rift also made the dry cliff bandits wary, so they would choose to take a detour when passing through the underground palace. He took out the void-shattering stones that he had harvested in the Meow family's beast creation garden and accurately took out 5 caddies of void-shattering stones from the 15 caddies. Then, he injected his spiritual power into the 5-kilogram void-shattering stone. The space-shattering stone, which had been infused with spiritual power, immediately lit up with a silver light, and the originally stable spatial energy inside it also became violent. The spatial energy fluctuations emitted by the space-shattering stone caused the space on the scene to become mottled. It was as if it would shatter at any moment. Lin Yuan quietly watched the process of the intact space slowly collapsing and finally cracking open the dimensional rift. Suddenly, a trace of wonderful enlightenment appeared in his heart. However, this enlightenment was fleeting, and Lin Yuan wasn't able to firmly grasp it. Lin Yuan couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Lin Yuan thought to himself, if I can grasp this trace of enlightenment, will I be able to comprehend a willpower rune suitable for fusing with a spatial type Fey? Lin Yuan had used the space-shattering stone to open the spatial rift on the ground, and it was currently daytime. Even if the Class 1-dimensional rift emitted a dark red glow and was accompanied by intense spatial fluctuations, it would still be difficult for spirit chi professionals to sense it from 10 kilometers away. It would also be difficult for spirit chi professionals to sense it from 10 kilometers away. Therefore, Lin Yuan wasn't afraid that the Dry Cliff Bandits and the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravans would sense it. Of course, after completing this plan, this Class 1-dimensional rift would still need to be reinforced and shielded with spatial spiritual materials. However, Lin Yuan didn't need to worry about reinforcing and controlling the dimensional rift. He could just leave it to the Class 5 spirit craftsman, Hu Quan. At that moment, dimensional life forms were already surging out of the dimensional rift. Lin Yuan saw that the dimensional rift that had just opened spat out 30 alien insects at once as though it was vomiting. Among these 30 alien insects, 12 of them didn't have a grade. 8 of them were normal, and 9 of them were elite. There was only one alien insect that reached bronze, which was also Class 1. Subsequently, the dimensional rift continuously vomited out alien insects, but none of them reached Class 1. The alien insect dimensional rift could be said to be Lin Yuan's old friend. The first 2-dimensional rifts that Lin Yuan had come into contact with were alien insect dimensional rifts. Lin Yuan had opened this dimensional rift not only to find a reasonable reason for appearing in front of the Dry Cliff Bandits, but also to nurture silver brilliance. Among all the dimensional rifts, the one that was most beneficial for nurturing silver brilliance in the early stages was undoubtedly the alien insect dimensional rift. The appearance of a dimensional rift required a process to brew an alien beast tide. The alien insects that had just been spat out of the dimensional rift would not act rashly immediately after arriving in the main world from the dimensional world. Instead, they would wait for more of their kind to arrive before forming a group and moving together with the high-grade alien insects. It was the same situation that Lin Yuan had encountered in Millstone Town. But now, Lin Yuan was close to the dimensional rift. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, these alien insects that should have been waiting for their companions, regardless of their strength, pounced at him. Lin Yuan waved his hand and summoned Silver Brilliance, who had been concentrating on absorbing the insect-patterned coral jade in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Silver Brilliance had been in the Spirit Lock spatial zone ever since she had transformed into a fairy source-type life form. She had never had the chance to be summoned to the outside world. Now that Lin Yuan had summoned her, Silver Brilliance immediately flapped the 3 pairs of wings on her back. She curiously sized up the surroundings. Originally, Silver Flower liked to stick to Lin Yuan, so every time he entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone, Silver Brilliance would always land on Lin Yuan's ears with chimey. After Red Thorn completed its transformation, Silver Brilliance felt its possessiveness toward Lin Yuan. In order to maintain the sisterhood between Red Thorn and Lin Yuan, Silver Brilliance would not continue to stay by his side when Red Thorn stayed by his side. Of course, This was also related to Red Thorn's bloodline subtly suppressing Silver Brilliance. Silver Brilliance's fairy bloodline was at the low grade of 3 wings and had not reached the mid-grade. However, Red Thorn's fairy bloodline had reached the peak of 3 wings. The bloodline caused Silver Brilliance to subconsciously respect Red Thorn. Chapter 1167. Now that he was summoned, Red Thorn was not by his side. Silver Flower flew to Lin Yuan's face and kissed the part where Lin Yuan's skin color could still be seen. She did not mind that Lin Yuan's face was dirted by the mud. Lin Yuan looked at Silver Flower's excited expression and said with a smile, "Silver Flower did not have the chance to nurture you previously. Previously, Silver Glory didn't have the chance to nurture you. Now that you have this Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift, you can nurture the bone lotus flowers as you wish. Use the bone lotuses to devour the alien insects that emerge from the Class 1 dimensional rift and rely on the alien insects' souls to increase your strength." Lin Yuan thought for a moment and said, "Silver Flower, try to increase your quality while increasing your strength. Yinhua, try to improve your quality as much as possible while you're improving your strength. Put your level aside for now. A Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift will at most produce Class 3 alien insects. If your bone lotuses can't deal with Class 3 alien insects, Big Brother Lu's Insect Queen will help you. Therefore, you don't have to rush to increase your rank. Increasing your quality to legend is more important." Lin Yuan summoned his first willpower rune, the Massacre Willpower Rune, and said to Silver Flower, "Silver Flower, I will keep this willpower rune for you. Silver Flower, I will keep this willpower rune for you. I'll use this willpower rune to let you evolve into a fantasy breed when you advance to legend by devouring souls." Silver Flower blushed and kissed Lin Yuan's face a few more times. Silver Flower's former self was the Carcinoma Fey, the sea burial lotus flower. Silver Flower had transformed into a fairy source-type life form because the demon's heart's soul had devoured the sea burial lotus flower's soul. However, the demon's heart's soul had perfectly inherited the sea burial lotus flower's chaotic consciousness. To the former tumor Fey, the sea burial lotus flower, Lin Yuan was a good person. Even though Lin Yuan had captured it, he had also provided it with the environment that it had always dreamed of. It allowed it to rapidly increase its strength. As the original soul of the demon's heart that had devoured the sea burial lotus flower's soul, Lin Yuan was its second parent. Therefore, Yinhua was 100% reliant on Lin Yuan in her bones. Silver Flower had never thought that Lin Yuan would do anything for it. To Yinhua, being able to follow Lin Yuan was already the happiest thing in the world. Every time a fairy source-type life form evolved to a higher level, its bloodline would be activated. When a fairy source-type life form advanced to a fantasy breed, it was also a chance for its bloodline to transform while increasing its strength. It was true that Yinhua was very lenient toward Red Thorn, but Red Thorn's appearance had also stimulated Yinhua's competitive spirit. Yinhua had always been looking forward to advancing to a fantasy breed and obtaining the opportunity to transform her bloodline. He saw many alien insects being pushed away by the source sand when they were pouncing at him, causing them to escape into the forest. Lin Yuan urged Yinhua, "Let's begin. If you don't, your rations will run away. If your rations run away, who knows how long you'll have to wait to raise your grade to legendary." Lin Yuan didn't care about the alien insects that escaped. If these insects could escape more than 5 kilometers away, they would be able to escape when he lured the Dry Cliff Bandit King group to the Deep Burn Federation's Merchant Guild. Upon seeing these scattered alien insects, there was no need to wait until they were within the range of the dimensional rift. The withered Cliff Bandit King would believe his words. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's urging, Yinhua immediately flapped her wings and flew to the top of the dimensional rift. Immediately after, the magnificent coral crown on Yinhua's head, which was twice the size of her body, suddenly emitted a rainbow-colored radiance. A large number of rainbow-colored lotus flowers appeared under Yinhua's feet. After these rainbow-colored lotus flowers appeared, they turned into rainbow-colored spots of light that sprinkled onto the ground. As a result, when these rainbow-colored spots of light touched the ground, bone lotus flowers instantly bloomed one after another. The smaller bone lotus flowers were the size of a bowl, while the larger ones were the size of a wash basin. Upon seeing the densely packed insect patterns on the bone lotus flowers, Lin Yuan knew that Yinhua had already started to execute the coral insect pattern's rune nurturing mode. The rune nurturing mode could increase the bone lotus flowers' hardness and ductility. It would help the bone lotus flowers to feed on the alien insects that were spat out by the dimensional rift and consume their souls. Yinhua's speed of nurturing the bone lotus flowers was not as fast as red thorn. However, Silver Eye/normal Yinhua was able to nurture nearly 200 square meters of bone lotus flowers after exhausting all of her spiritual power. The 200 square meters of bone lotus flowers was just enough to barely surround the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. No matter which direction the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift spat out the alien insects, they would immediately come into contact with the bone lotus flowers. The elite alien insects would still be able to struggle for a moment under the bone lotus flowers after being consumed by the bone lotus flowers. As for the normal alien insects that didn't have a grade, their souls would instantly be drained by the revolving bone lotus flowers and turned into insect juice. As the bone lotus flowers' sea of flowers consumed a large number of alien insects, it absorbed a large number of alien insect souls. Yinhua's depleted spiritual power was also constantly being replenished. When Yinhua's spiritual power was replenished, she slowly expanded the bone lotus flowers' sea of flowers. After expanding the bone lotus flowers to the size of a football field, Yinhua stopped expanding the bone lotus flowers' sea of flowers. This was because the digestion speed of the bone lotus flowers' sea of flowers was already barely able to keep up with the speed of the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift spitting out alien insects. The bone lotus flowers' sea of flowers only consumed the alien insects' souls, and the alien insect corpses were piled up. In just a short moment, there was a tall pile of insects. Seeing this, Yinhua changed the pattern nurturing mode to burial pattern mode. Since there was no longer a need to expand the bone lotus flowers' sea of flowers, the pattern nurturing mode lost its original purpose. Under the burial pattern mode, the wandering insect patterns on the bone lotus flowers began to consume the bone lotus flowers. The insect patterns that consumed the bone lotus flowers transformed into bone worms. According to the different insect patterns on the coral jade that Yinhua absorbed, the bone worms formed were also different. The bone worms mainly consumed the vitality of the living to increase their strength. The flesh of dimensional life forms contained a large amount of vitality. Under the burial pattern mode, these bone worms became the cleaners of the sea of flowers. They helped Yinhua clean up the insect corpses that were left behind after the bone lotus flowers consumed their souls. The entire sea of flowers formed by the bone lotus flowers was divided into many parts. Every part of it was carrying out its own duties, coordinating with silver splendor in an orderly manner to maximize its feeding. At this moment, Lin Yuan sharply noticed something. The sky above the bone lotus flowers' sea of flowers was already covered with a thin layer of white powder. Lin Yuan immediately knew that this was Yinhua's elite ability, Bone Dense Mist. After the bone worms consumed the insect corpses, they would turn the undigested insect carapace into powder and spit it out. The Bone Dense Mist was an excellent shielding ability, and at the same time, it had the effect of expanding the attack range. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1168. The bone powder could host coral patterns. The coral patterns in the bone powder could instantly transform into bone insects through the burial pattern mode and attack targets in the air. Therefore, the bone lotus sea's attack range was not limited to the land. As long as the bone powder mist enveloped the area, it would be within Silver Splendor's attack range. As for the exclusive skill, Hermit Dead Servant, there was no rush. Dimensional life forms like alien insects had weak souls. Furthermore, the alien insects that descended from the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift were weak. If he wanted to rely on such weak souls to nurture the first Hermit Undead Servant, he estimated that it would take at least a week. The exclusive skill allowed the Hermit Dead Servant to constantly grow stronger by devouring the dead souls that were killed by the Bone Lotus Sea. It was an important method and guarantee for Lin Yuan to create a forbidden land. Lin Yuan was looking forward to nurturing the hermit dead servant in a week. Since the hermit dead servant could not be nurtured in a short time, Lin Yuan decided not to pay attention to the bone lotus sea that Silver Splendor had nurtured. At that moment, a giant alien insect's cry echoed. A giant beetle with black spikes all over its body squeezed out of the dimensional rift and landed in the sea of flowers formed by the bone lotus flowers. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up when he saw this black beetle covered in spikes. Lin Yuan did not even need to use true data to investigate this Class 3 alien insect and recognized its name. Spiky beetle. Among the 3 Class 3 alien insects that he had encountered in Millstone Town, there was a spiky beetle. However, the spiky beetle in Millstone Town was nearly 3.5 meters long and 3 meters wide. Now, this spiky beetle was only 3 meters long and about 2.5 meters wide. It meant that this spiky beetle's strength was far inferior to the one that had appeared in Millstone Town. The dimensional rift that had appeared above Millstone Town was a pinnacle Class 1 dimensional rift. The dimensional rift that he had opened with the spatial shattering rock was only a low-class Class 1 dimensional rift. The alien insects that gushed out of the dimensional rift could not be compared. Lin Yuan was not in a hurry to kill the spiky beetle. Instead, he let it struggle and destroy the bone lotus sea. He planned to use this spiky beetle to test the white bone lotus sea's recovery ability. If Lin Yuan wanted to use the white bone lotus sea as the main body to create a forbidden zone, he had to know how powerful the white bone lotus sea's recovery ability was. If one's recovery ability was not strong enough, even if the white bone lotus sea was very strong, it would not be able to withstand it. It was also very easy for people to use their lives to forcefully destroy it. There was no need for him to test the white bone lotus sea's strength now. This was because the white bone lotus sea's strength could not be effectively tested. On the one hand, it was because as the bone lotus flower absorbed the souls of more dimensional creatures, Silver Essence's grade and quality would continue to rise. As a result, Hua Hai's overall strength would naturally increase. On the other hand, the bone worm formed from the insect patterns would constantly increase its strength as it devoured life force. If it had enough life force, it was not impossible for the bone worm's strength to surpass the bone lotus. These tiny bone worms, which were hard to see with the naked eye, had unlimited potential. The level 3 spiky beetle rampaged through the sea of flowers, smashing a large number of white bone lotuses into smithereens. Now, Silver Essence's strength was only at bronze I/normal, and she had not had time to devour many alien insects. Even if Silver Essence was a 6-winged fairy's source-type life form with a powerful bloodline. Under the suppression of 2 major grades, it was truly difficult for Silver Flower to deal with the Class 3 spiky beetle effectively. Seeing that Lin Yuan had no intention of helping her, Silver Essence blinked at Lin Yuan, feeling wronged. Seeing Silver Essence's wronged eyes, Lin Yuan comforted her. "Be good, Silver Essence. Try to control the situation in the white bone lotus sea first. When you can't control the situation, I'll let the source sand get rid of this spiky beetle. By then, you can absorb the spiky beetle's soul." Hearing Lin Yuan's words, Silver Essence immediately understood what he meant. She knew that Lin Yuan wanted to test her strength. Moreover, from Lin Yuan's words, Silver Essence could tell that Lin Yuan was not optimistic that she could defeat this ugly guy in front of her. Lin Yuan's contempt immediately stimulated Silver Essence's desire to win. Among all the Class 3 alien insects, the spiky beetle was an alien insect that excelled in defense. Its attack method completely relied on the explosive power of the physical body, using the spiky beetle armor to charge at the target. Normally, Silver Essence would not dare to go head-on with this spiky beetle. However, the dimensional rift's entrance was constantly spewing out a large number of alien insects. The death of these alien insects was providing spiritual power for her abundant sea of flowers to recover. Therefore, Silver Essence intended to give it a try with all her might. Suddenly, Silver Essence's silver eyes lit up, as though she had thought of a good way to win. Silver Essence circulated her spiritual power, and the huge crystal-like coral crown on her head lit up with a colorful luster again. Numerous colorful lotuses also grew wildly under Silver Essence's feet. Yinhua flew down from the sky and landed in the sea of white bone lotuses with the 7 colored lotuses under her feet. Immediately after, all the white bone lotus sea in the stadium became restless. At this time, the spiky beetle had already destroyed at least 100 square meters of the white bone lotus flower sea after several collisions and crushing it. Just as the spiky beetle was prepared to continue its collisions and wantonly destroy more white bone lotus sea, 7 colorful lotuses grew under the spiky beetle's feet. The stems of these 7 colorful lotuses kept extending and tightly grabbed the black spikes on the spiky beetle's carapace like hands. For a moment, the 7 colorful lotuses and the spiky beetle were in a stalemate, causing the spiky beetle to stop its wanton destruction. This scene left Lin Yuan dumbfounded. He knew that these colorful lotuses weren't Silver Essence's ability. When Silver Essence had transformed into a fairy and condensed the crystal-like coral crown on her head, these colorful lotuses had automatically appeared under her feet. It should be considered Silver Essence's innate ability. Silver Essence restricted the spiky beetle's movement, which meant that Silver Essence's bronze strength could contend with a Class 3 alien insect that was comparable to a gold fey. Lin Yuan couldn't help but sigh at the power of the 6-winged fairy's bloodline. Red Thorn's bloodline was even higher than Silver Essence's, and it was unknown how strong Red Thorn would be after entering combat mode. However, Silver Essence's grade was truly too low, and there were too many spiky beetles. Even if she could temporarily be in a stalemate, Silver Essence would still fall into a disadvantageous situation after a long time. Initially, the spiky beetle was restricted in place by the 7 colorful lotuses. But now, the spiky beetle was able to pull the 7 colorful lotuses and move a small distance. It seemed like the stalemate that Silver Essence had painstakingly created was about to be broken by the spiky beetle. End of this chapter. Chapter 1169. When Lin Yuan sensed that Yinhua's spiritual power was rapidly depleting, he sighed. Yinhua's desire to win is so strong. Lin Yuan had originally wanted to test the Sea of Flowers' recovery ability, but Silver Splendor had clashed with the spiky beetle. Although the level 3 spiky beetle's intelligence was not high, it was not a complete fool. After struggling for a while, the spiky beetle found a way to break the stalemate. The spiky beetle turned sideways and tore off the 3 7-colored lotuses that were wrapped around the black thorns. The stem of the rainbow lotus had a very strong elasticity. The force that broke the spiky beetle suddenly loosened. Half of the spiky beetle's body suddenly stood up. At this moment, a large number of bone lotuses grew vigorously from the spiky beetle's body. In the blink of an eye, it had reached a height of 3 to 4 meters. Lin Yuan looked at the changes in the Sea of Flowers through the white bone fog and knew that Silver Flower had switched from burial pattern mode to nurturing pattern mode again. The newborn bone lotus flower underwent a high-intensity hardening under the tattoo nurturing mode. The layers of bone lotuses pushed hard, and the spiky beetle was flipped over. The spikes on the beetle's back pierced into the ground, making it difficult for the beetle to turn its body, no matter how hard it tried. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan gave Silver Flower's plan a thumbs up. Seeing that the rune nurturing mode worked, he flipped the spiky beetle's body over. Yinhua then switched from nurturing rune mode to burial rune mode. While continuing to spawn bone lotuses to repair the Sea of Flowers destroyed by the spiky beetles, he also gave orders to the various bone worms in the Sea of Bone Lotuses. The bone worms in the Sea of Flowers immediately rushed to the spiky beetle. Without the bone worm to clean up the alien insect corpses, the insect mountains in the Sea of Flowers piled up again. Lin Yuan watched as the black spiky beetle was instantly covered by tiny white objects and turned pure white. After the bone worms covered the spiky beetle's body, the spiky beetle struggled crazily. As it struggled, it let out painful cries from time to time. The bone worm was small in size, and when the spiky beetle turned its body over, a small gap would appear on its back. The bone worm could drill into the gaps of the spiky beetle's outer armor. As a level 3 alien insect, the spiky beetle's outer armor was hard. The bone worm, which had not consumed much life force, could not chew through the shell of the spiky beetle. Although the spiky beetle also had soft armor inside its carapace, This layer of soft armor could not prevent the bone worms from gnawing. Amidst the sorrowful cries of the spiky beetle, the beetle was chewed into an empty shell by the bone worm at a speed visible to the naked eye. After devouring the beetle's flesh, the bone worm returned to its previous position. The corpses piled up like a mountain in just half a minute. For now, the bone worms could not eat the outer shell of the spiky beetle, so it was dragged to a corner of the sea of flowers by the bone lotus. The sea of bone lotuses left an empty space in the corner. In Lin Yuan's opinion, this empty space was like Silver Splendor's small treasure vault. At that moment, Silver Flower flew out of the bone lotus flower's sea of flowers and flew in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, isn't Silver Flower awesome? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan rubbed Silver Flower's face with the pad of his finger and said, "That's right. Yinhua, you really gave me a pleasant surprise." The battle just now began when Silver Flower spawned a large number of bone lotuses to turn the spiky beetle's body over. Lin Yuan thoroughly witnessed the speed at which Silver Flower spawned bone lotuses to replenish the sea of flowers. Lin Yuan also had a good idea of the sea of bone lotuses' recovery ability. Silver Flower was still too weak now, and the sea of bone lotuses had just formed. Even the hermit dead servants had not appeared, so how could it be strong? When Silver Flower became a fantasy breed, a few more hermit dead servants would be cultivated in the sea of flowers. For the people living here, this forest was enough to be called a forbidden area that could not be set foot in. However, if he wanted this forbidden area to become famous and attract the real experts of the Divine Wood Federation to come and take risks, Lin Yuan needed to think of some other ways. From the moment Lin Yuan summoned Silver Flower, the insect queen had been shivering in Lu Jie's arms. Only its small head was exposed, and it timidly looked at Silver Flower. The pressure of the bloodline made the insect queen not dare to be presumptuous, flying in front of Lu Jie as usual. Lu Jie could not help but marvel in his heart while comforting the insect queen. After Lu Jie contracted the insect queen, he could not contract other phase or source-type life forms. Later, he contracted the source-type cocoon of evolution because the cocoon of evolution was essentially parasitizing the insect queen. It was equivalent to the insect queen contracting the cocoon of evolution, which had nothing to do with Lu Jie. Therefore, Lu Jie would look up information about fairy source-type life forms whenever he had time and had a very good understanding of them. He knew that the fairy source-type life form with the highest bloodline was a six-winged fairy that had grown its third pair of wings when it became a myth breed. Lu Jie's insect queen was originally a four-winged fairy. After the insect queen mutated, it already had the capital to become a six-winged fairy. This had been confirmed by his master, Night-Leaning Moon. However, Lu Jie was not sure when the insect queen would transform into a six-winged fairy. Lu Jie had always thought that his insect queen would be the first to break the fairy source-type life form record. But now, Lin Yuan had casually summoned a six-winged fairy. Moreover, this six-winged fairy's grade was shocking as it was only at bronze. Lu Jie felt that this world was simply too mysterious. Silver Flower was a miracle that broke history and common sense. This miracle was created by Lin Yuan. Lu Jie often browsed forums and posts related to fairies. There were all sorts of discussions about fairy source-type life forms in the threads and forums, and many of them were completely irrelevant. However, Lu Jie felt that if he posted what he saw on the forum or in the forum, he would be able to get a lot of attention. It was very likely that he would be treated as a mental patient by the netizens and scolded into a sieve. Lin Yuan looked at Yinhua, who was blushing suspiciously after being praised by him. "Yinhua, with your current strength, can you withstand another dimensional rift?" Hearing this, Yinhua hurriedly shook her head and said, "Lin Yuan, I've already reached my limit by spawning such a sea of flowers. If I expand it further, my control over the sea of flowers at the edge will weaken. The sea of flowers can't be nurtured just because you have spiritual energy. The bone worm consumes the flesh mountain, and the bone lotus consumes the soul. Although it's an instinctive reaction, I still need to command and deploy them. Given my current strength, opening another dimensional rift is simply too difficult. When my strength increases to bronze V/flawless, the sea of flowers will be twice as large as it is now. At that time, I'll be able to handle another dimensional rift. Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan dispelled the idea of using 5 kilograms of void-shattering rocks to open another dimensional rift. End of this chapter. Chapter 1170. It wasn't a good thing to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. While Silverflower was playing with Lin Yuan, she saw the insect queen in Lu Jie's embrace. Silverflower flapped her 3 pairs of wings and flew toward the insect queen. Silverflower took the initiative to befriend the insect queen, and they quickly became friends. Silverflower invited the insect queen to play in the sea of white bone lotus flowers. Seeing that his insect queen and Silverflower were getting along well, Lu Jie revealed a smile. Hee, I have such a good relationship with Lin Yuan. My Fae and Lin Yuan's Fae are also so close. I'm so satisfied. Suddenly, Lu Jie's eyes focused, and he walked in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, the Dry Cliff Bandit King team can't wait any longer. Half an hour ago, the phone you gave me rang 3 or 4 times. The Dry Cliff Bandit King team is starting to move out. Lin Yuan took out the phone that he had placed in the amber button-shaped Fae storage box. He saw that there were 5 or 6 missed calls on the phone that he had snatched from one of the 5. Lin Yuan raised his brows and looked toward the distant east. The sun was high in the sky, and the Rot-Tan armored army was advancing unsteadily in the forest. A yellow-brown elephant species Fae kept using its trunk to pull out small trees and put them in its mouth to chew. After chewing twice, it seemed to feel that the small trees didn't taste good. It disdainfully spat out the sawdust in its mouth onto the forest ground. 2 pure white tusks waved from time to time, leaving a half-meter-deep gash on the trunk of a giant tree in the forest. I owe you so much. The yellow-brown elephant species Fae had a tent on its back that could block the glaring sunlight in the forest. It could also effectively block the leaves, branches, and fruits that fell from the sky in the forest. A woman wearing a silk gown was sitting inside the tent. The woman's silk gown was painted with all kinds of flowers, and the flowers were decorated with vine leaves. The excessive decorations made the silk gown, which was of good quality, look a little tacky. It had lost the original lightness of the silk gown. The silk gown was wrapped with a purple fur cloak. The animal fur on the cloak was very long, but the edges of the cloak were not smooth. Many of the fur on the edges were tangled together. It was obvious that this cloak had been made for a long time. After a long period of exposure to the wind and sun, the fur on the edge of the cloak had already lost its oil. In the Divine Wood Federation, clothing was very particular. Clothing often symbolized a person's status. The clothes worn by ordinary people were made of coarse hemp silk drawn from plants. On the other hand, some servants or people who couldn't even live on could not even wear sackcloth. They could only wear clothes made of plant branches. Not only were these clothes made from tattered branches and leaves prickly, but they would also fall apart in a few days. He had to weave it himself again, which was very troublesome. After all, the Divine Wood Federation had the most plant phase. The Divine Wood Federation's power structure was the same as that of the Iron Hammer Federation. Creation Masters could establish clans of different classes according to their occupation rank. Family members established by Creation Masters had always been called nobles in the Divine Wood Federation. These people were more particular about their clothes. While the Divine Wood Federation was rich in plant species phase, it also had abundant insect species phase. The nobles preferred to wear spirit chi clothing that was weaved from insect species phase. They would also carve complicated decorations on the plain silk clothing. Apart from silk clothing, the most sought after by the nobles were fur-type spirit chi clothing. Beast species phase were very rare in the Divine Wood Federation, and every noble was proud of having a good leather fur-type spirit chi clothing. While the woman in the tent sat down, she deliberately put the fur cloak to the side. She was afraid that it would press down on the fur cloak, making the fur cloak not as upright and fluffy as before. Apart from the clothing, the woman had average looks. However, she had heavy makeup on her face. It made the woman's arrogance that had nowhere else to exude be tainted with a trace of worldly aura. At that moment, the woman gritted her teeth. While looking at the road ahead, she snorted coldly. It's best if something happened to the 5 of you and were eaten by the wild beasts in the forest. If the 5 of you dare to come back, wait to be whipped into meat paste by the vines. Just when the woman was bored to death, she heard a feminine yet resonant voice shout from below. Miss Luoya, the banana wood elephant has been hungry all the way. It's time to feed it something. If we don't feed the banana tree elephant now, it will be so hungry that it might go crazy when it sees a fruit tree. Roja waved her hand and summoned a huge yellow moth. This moth had a wingspan of 2 meters, but its body was very bloated. There were no patterns on the wings, but they were covered in fine powder. As a result, this butterfly species Faye did not have a trace of beauty and was even a little disgusting. Luoya jumped onto the moth Faye and let it carry her to the ground. Roja frowned and said to the tall, long-haired man in front of her, "Fu Di, I fed this banana tree elephant some spirit liquid that I got from my father. It has a chance to break through to the gold rank in a short time. When you feed it later, feed the banana wood elephant more nutritious food." The long-haired man, Fu Di, was the leader of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. He was also Luoya's loyal bootlicker. After establishing a relationship with Luoya, he coaxed her into becoming the vice-captain of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. He had made use of Luoya's relationship to obtain plenty of Creation Master resources. The banana wood elephant was not Luoya's Fae, but the property of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. It was a great thing for the entire Withered Cliff Bandit King group that the banana wood elephant had reached the gold rank. Fu Di was abnormally surprised, so he habitually licked Luoya's bootlicker. "Young Lady Luoya, wait until we find the Deep Burn Federation's caravan. I will get my brothers to kill the ugly ones and the old ones. Detain all the handsome young ones for Miss Luoya." Luoya replied indifferently. "A small caravan that travels all over the world to trade for resources. They must be exposed to the elements. What good goods can they have?" Thinking about this, Luoya felt that this operation had become boring. Luoya had poured in Creation Master resources for the Withered Cliff Bandit King group to become stronger, but it was not for these 300 bootlickers. With Luoya's Class 2 family background, she was definitely a noble lady in her small city. Back then, Luoya had been persuaded by Fu Di to become the vice-captain of the Withered Cliff Bandit King group because Fu Di had promised to find good goods for her. However, as Luoya played more, her standards were getting higher and higher. A few years ago, she felt that they were good goods, but now, they could no longer enter her eyes. This made Luoya abnormally vexed. Just as Luoya was inspecting the surroundings, she suddenly saw a figure rushing towards the Withered Cliff Bandit King group. End of chapter. Chapter 1171. A cool breeze blew, the sea was calm. The sunlight shone on the surface of the sea, making the sea look like a piece of golden jade. The gold on the surface of the sea and the blue under the sea blended together, forming a rippling warm green. Together with the coconut trees and the freely flying seabirds on the shore, it was as if this scene was made for romance. Suddenly, the wind started blowing. The sea breeze caused the originally calm sea to ripple with clear and crystalline waves. The waves were like silk dancing in the wind, layer after layer wrapping the golden jade-like surface of the sea. A wave of fragrance blossomed on the sea. The moment this fragrance appeared, it sealed off the coast of the island. After the fragrance sealed off the island, lotus leaves grew one after another on the surface of the sea. The lotus leaves connected the sky, instantly covering the entire sea. It completely separated the island from the world, as if everything on the island had nothing to do with the world anymore. The moment the lotus leaves sealed off the island, a shout came from the island. "Who are you? Who dares to act so wantonly on this land?" The moment the words were spoken, 5 figures appeared in the sky above the island. There were men and women among the 5, all with different postures. One of the experts in the lead had an aura of eternal immortality on his body. The 5 experts released their aura at the same time. The overflowing pressure caused the entire island to shake. The seabirds flying freely above the island were directly blown into pieces by this monstrous pressure. 3 of the experts even waved their hands to summon their spirit creatures. After these spirit creatures were summoned, the pressure above the island became even denser. Suddenly, a light laugh came from within the fragrance. This should be the third pagoda cannon lair on the way. The moment the light laugh came out, the experts above the island with undying aura acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They released their pressure and frantically swept the sea, as if trying to find the location of the person who just made the sound. However, after searching for a while, they still couldn't find anything, causing the experts above the island to shiver. At this time, a girl with waist-length blue hair quietly descended on the largest lotus leaf on the sea. The fragrance fills the air, the makeup reflects the light red. The singing is from the sky, the dance is from the royal palace. Different from the experts above the island who were on guard, the girl on the lotus leaf was very relaxed. There was even a hint of laziness in his expression. The woman's exquisite face had a pair of almond-shaped eyes that could be said to be peerless. The corners of her almond-shaped eyes were slightly raised, and the upward curve made the woman's eyes seem to be blooming with the softest of lotuses. This pair of phoenix eyes with a flirtatious arc appeared on the blue-haired waist-length woman's body, making the blue-haired waist-length woman's natural charm. However, the woman's sharp brows suppressed this charm. The charm of the woman's eyes clashed with the sharpness of her eyebrows, and the extreme feminine and masculine characteristics appeared on her face. It gave this face an extremely neutral beauty. Meanwhile, the woman's cherry lips and fine nose embellished the extreme androgynous beauty, brewing a quality that was even more charming. At this moment, the woman narrowed her eyes and looked at the experts of the Sky Tower cannon on the island. Oh, there's actually an undying pagoda cannon. The strength of this nest is not bad. How lucky! The woman's words were filled with undisguised killing intent. The woman with waist-length blue hair suddenly appeared. However, after the woman appeared, the four seas calmed down, as if the entire ocean region had found its backbone. Following which, the water in the sea wantonly cheered, celebrating the arrival of the waist-length blue hair woman. The celebratory waves under the heaven-reaching lotus leaf collided and blended with each other, playing a water movement that could be said to be the sound of nature. The woman waved her hand lightly, and that hint of laziness disappeared from her expression. An aura that could command the world shot out from the woman's body. With a wave of her hand, the calm sea surface split into 8 with the woman as the center. 8 water pillars gathered the water of the 4 seas and rose up, forming a platform under the woman's feet. The waist-length blue-hair woman sat on the platform of the 4 seas, like a lotus blooming in the ocean. Looking at the celebratory platform that the seawater had built for the woman, the only female expert in the sky above the island said in surprise. Able to make the ocean region feel close to her, willing to obey her orders. This ability to communicate with nature, the spirit of heaven's favor. It's actually someone from Heaven Blessed Dojo. At the mention of Heaven Blessed Dojo, the experts of the pagoda cannon on the island felt a bit more at ease. The female expert of the pagoda cannon took a step forward and shouted at the blue lotus in the sea. What does your Heaven Blessed Dojo mean by this? Since when did Heaven Blessed Dojo dare to cause trouble for the pagoda cannon? As soon as the female expert finished speaking, a phoenix cry that made the night fall resounded. The sun hanging high in the sky was still there, but the boundless darkness had completely enveloped the island. The extreme darkness prevented even a trace of the sun's radiance from shining on the island. Above the dome, a sturdy man wearing a black fishnet robe was looking disdainfully at the island under the night sky. Immediately after, the sturdy man's figure flashed, and a woman's mournful scream resounded in the sky above the island. At this moment, an extremely angry shout resounded from inside the island. Heaven Blessed Dojo dares to kill the Crimson Tower's chanter. How dare you? Today, all of you will stay here. Burn to death, scorching world dragon. Immortal body, activate. A scorching and dazzling aura blossomed in the sky above the island, and in the blink of an eye, a world that resembled a lava hell was opened. In this world, there were 8 volcanoes that were spewing scorching lava. In the crater of the volcanoes, there were 8 creation earth veins that resembled dragons and snakes. After the scorching world serpent opened up the infernal lava world, the dark night was excluded from the island. At the same time, the waters of the four seas began to boil in an instant. In the center of the flame world, a man with a square face and a dignified expression suddenly transformed into a red-scaled dragon that was nearly a kilometer long with obvious insect-like characteristics. A deafening dragon roar resounded in the sky. Immediately after, the 8 creation earth veins in the lava hell world's volcanoes merged into one and shot into the scorching world dragon's body. The scorching world dragon once again transformed into human form. This time, the scorching world dragon's human form was not a normal human form. The scorching world dragon's human form still retained 5 distinct Fey characteristics. 2 horns, a pair of dragon wings, a pair of dragon claws, a pair of dragon feet, and a mouth of dragon teeth. The scorching world dragon wore red armor and wielded a dragon bone spear. A playful smile appeared on Bai Feng's face when she saw the scorching world dragon. Amazing, hee. The immortal armor will only appear after forging the dragon eyes, dragon tail, dragon scales, and awakening the 4th refinement of immortal body. At this point, Bai Feng's heart sank. 4th refinement of immortal body is what you think is enough to keep us here? You're still far from it. As Bai Feng's voice fell, a black phoenix that blotted out the sky appeared in the sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 1172. After the black phoenix appeared in the sky, the air above the 4 seas became even thinner. It was as if even the air was lost in the eternal night and was about to disappear. There was nothing special about the black phoenix. However, this wasn't because the black phoenix's appearance was mediocre. Enveloped by the pure power of night, the black phoenix was like a phoenix-shaped black hole that had split open in the sky. At this moment, the black phoenix flapped its wings, and the boundless night sky above the island was instantly withdrawn into the black phoenix's body. The black phoenix looked even more reserved now that the island was illuminated again. It was so restrained that not even the slightest bit of its own aura leaked out. As Bai Feng transformed back into her true form, the scorching world roaring dragon, who had activated his immortal body, revealed a relaxed expression. Relieved, the scorching world Oregon mocked Bai Feng. Undying level 3, you haven't even awakened the colored armor on your undying body, yet you still shamelessly say you're far from it. Today, you will stay here and be burned to ashes by the flames. Bai Feng said disdainfully as she flung her dark tail feather that was wrapped in the power of eternal night. How can an ordinary Fae like you understand the meaning of being blessed by the heavens? How can you easily imagine the power that the heavens love and care for? Dragon blood stays in the body, dragon marrow is nurtured in the bones. Among the main dragon species Faes, you're considered excellent, but you ultimately didn't condense the Dragon Ball. For the rest of his life, he will just eat and wait for death on the bloodline of the main dragon species. Today, this dojo master will let a mortal like you know the difference between you and a favored spirit. Bai Feng's words were filled with arrogance. His tone was like that of a high and mighty chosen one mocking his inferior subjects. Bai Feng's insult made the scorching serpent dragon feel an uncontrollable rage. Under the fury of the scorching world serpent, the mantle at the bottom of the ocean was shaking violently, and several volcanoes popped up on the surface of the ocean. The lava from the volcano dyed the entire sea a reddish-brown. At that moment, the scorching sea dragon sharply discovered that the sky-engulfing lotus leaves that covered the island were still growing wantonly in the seawater that was even hotter than lava. It was not affected by the temperature of the sea at all. This discovery immediately made the scorching world Oregon panic. His eyes stared straight at the blue-haired woman who was sitting on the platform built with the water of the 4 seas. What baffled the scorching serpent was that the blue-haired girl was stuffing tomatoes into her mouth unhurriedly. His expression was relaxed. At this moment, an old man wearing a rose-red robe embroidered with a red pagoda-shaped pattern emerged from the island and arrived in front of the scorching world serpent in the sky. He grabbed the dragon bone spear that the blazing world roaring dragon was holding and said to Bai Feng with a grave expression, I didn't expect to see the eternal Night Phoenix, one of the 16 masters of the Blessed Mansion, on this remote island. I forgot to introduce myself. I am the manager of this island's pagoda canon. I am the pagoda reader under Lord Scarlet Page of the Scarlet Tower. After saying that, the old man's expression turned solemn and his tone was filled with threat. It doesn't matter if my fae can defeat you or not. As one of the 16 Hall Lords of the Heaven-Blessed Dojo, you attacked my pagoda canon and even killed a kneeling pagoda chanter personally chosen by Lord Scarlet Page. Your blessed mansion cannot withstand Lord Scarlet Page's wrath. The old man was dumbfounded by the current situation. He didn't understand why the blessed mansion, which had always been cautious with the pagoda canon, had taken the wrong medicine. Not only had she come to find trouble with the pagoda canon, but she had also dared to kill someone from the pagoda canon. Although the old man was the pagoda reader under Scarlet Page of the Tower of Eternity, the death of a kneeling pagoda chanter during the next pagoda canon meeting. Among the 36 chanters kneeling before the Scarlet Tower, there would be one missing member. Hence, this matter couldn't be concealed no matter what. Lord Scarlet Page would definitely find out. As for how Lord Scarlet Page would deal with the Blessed Mansion, the old man didn't care. Right now, the old man only hoped that the eternal Night Phoenix would be intimidated by Lord Scarlet Page's reputation and back off. Although his fae, the scorching world roaring dragon's immortal body, was a class higher than the eternal Night Phoenix, the eternal Night Phoenix was a true blessed spirit. The old man couldn't help but shiver at the thought of the blessed spirit's uniqueness. After the old man finished speaking, before White Phoenix could speak, a huge opening appeared in the seawater. The island in the middle of the sea was originally located in the deep sea area, according to the opening in the sea surface. The movement of the mantle at the bottom of the sea could be easily seen. The two halves of the seawater suddenly turned into two blue lotus flowers. The two blue lotus flowers were like a huge clamp. They immediately sandwiched the small island and the experts of the pagoda canon on the island. The small island was instantly crushed by the two lotus flowers and merged with the seawater. The scorching world roaring dragon used its immortal body to protect the old man, but the two orchid flowers' attack carried the power of the entire sea. Even if the attack couldn't hurt the scorching world roaring dragon, it could still do its best to protect its contracted fae. However, the remaining 3 Emperor-class experts of the pagoda canon and the 3 Emperor-class experts' contracted faes were turned into debris that couldn't be found in the sea under the attack of the 2 blue lotus flowers. Blue Lotus, who was on the Imperial platform, said in a cold voice, "The Heaven-Blessed Mansion's Hall Masters have never been 16, but 17. Since you said that the Heaven-Blessed Mansion has 16 Hall Masters, you should know why we want to kill the people of the pagoda canon today. The 2 of us can't beat the 8 pages of the pagoda canon, but that doesn't mean everyone in the Heaven-Blessed Mansion is afraid of the 8 pages of the pagoda canon. Our Heaven-Blessed Mansion has secluded ourselves from the world for 1,000 years and never caused trouble, but that doesn't mean we can be bullied by anyone. The Crimson Page's rage is nothing." Saying that, the blue-haired woman's face suddenly revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Then, she spoke to the old man with a playful expression. "You really should thank that stupid dragon of yours. The heat produced by the underwater volcano's eruption allowed my companion to recover from his injuries in advance." As soon as Lan Lian finished speaking, the brownish-red sea that was dyed by the magma suddenly turned golden red. Red, magnificent red. Gold, dazzling gold. This red was like blood spreading on the seabed, while the gold was like a blazing warm sun rising from the seabed. In the sky above the sea, a tall red-haired man with a thin figure appeared beside Bai Feng, who had transformed into her true form. The man's heterochromatic eyes, one gold and one red, looked at Bai Feng seriously. "Brother Bai Feng, leave the people of the pagoda canon to me." The red-haired man's tone was calm and warm, but it had unquestionable determination and seriousness. Upon hearing the red-haired man's words, Bai Feng sighed and transformed back into her human form. Chapter 1173. Bai Feng said as she looked at the wound on the red-haired man's arm that had yet to fully heal. "Shui Shua, don't force yourself. Xue Shua shook his head and said, Brother White Phoenix, after I awakened the Corona Jade Spider bloodline and transformed into a favored spirit, you haven't seen the exclusive skill that I obtained after advancing to an immortal species, right? Today, I'll let you have a good look. Hearing that, Bai Feng's eyes lit up, revealing a look of anticipation. Then, he looked at the blazing world-roaring dragon and the old man, whose auras were clearly in a mess after the Blue Lotus's attack. I haven't told you before, but I don't like people calling my main body by its name. I like people to call me Bai Feng. My brother, Xue Shua, is the 17th Dojo Lord of the Blessed Dojo. Spirit of Heaven's favor, the bloodline of the celestial Corona Jade Spider has not disappeared from the Heaven's Favor Mansion. Hearing this, the old man's eyes flickered. Aside from the various hall masters, it wasn't as if the Blessed Ones didn't have other treasures. The Heaven's Blessed Mansion protected the lives of many treasures favored by the heavens. It was just that the strength of these Heaven's Chosen Ones was too low, not enough to take on the position of Blessed One's Hall Master. From the moment the Blue Lotus appeared, it was true that it had mobilized the power of the four seas. However, Lan Lian had never clearly displayed her aura and pressure. Heavenly chosen spirits were favored by heaven and earth. Heavenly chosen spirits that possessed the power of water were the favored children of the water. All the rivers in the world would strive to please it. Thus, it was not difficult for such a heavenly chosen spirit to mobilize the power of the four seas. However, the furious attack just now proved that the blue-haired woman on the platform was also a dojo mistress of the Heaven-Blessed Dojo. The woman did not activate her immortal body, nor did she use her body martial transformation, but a casual strike from her had such power. This meant that the woman was probably more powerful than the eternal Night Nether Phoenix. After realizing this, the old man knew that he and the Scorching Serpent wouldn't be able to escape. If it was just White Phoenix, the old man knew that even if he used his Sacred Source life form and the Scorching World Roaring Dragon activated its immortal body, he would not be able to escape the eternal Night Dark Phoenix's attack. But there were still a few hours before nightfall. These few hours were enough for him to find a way to seek Lord Scarlet Page's protection. If the eternal Night Nether Phoenix continued to chase after him, the Blessed Mansion would have one less owner. Now, however, there was an additional divine spirit that wielded the power of water. Moreover, this was the ocean, and every single tide was a tentacle of the chosen spirit of water. Under the pursuit of Si Zhang's divine spirit of water, there was no way he could escape the sea. 2 attacks from the 2 Heaven's Blessed Dojo Masters killed 4 of the Scarlet Tower's kneeling chanters. From this, it could be seen that the other party had no intention of letting him leave alive. The old man was already prepared to die, but when it rains, it pours. The old man, who had the will to die, suddenly realized that the spirit of providence that had attacked the base of the pagoda cannon wasn't one of the 2 spirit of providence. There were 3 of them. He thought too highly of himself. When the blue-haired woman first appeared, she said that this was the lair of the 3rd pagoda cannon. Presumably, the other 2 bases of the pagoda cannon had also been attacked by the 3 heaven-blessed dojo masters. As for why there was no news, the old man was not confused at all. It would be strange if news of the 3 heaven-blessed dojo masters attacking together had spread. However, looking at the current situation, the injured heaven-blessed dojo master had decided to attack his main fae, the scorching roaring dragon, alone. Under the old man's perception, the heaven-blessed dojo master discovered that his strength had just evolved from a creation breed to an immortal breed. His immortal body was only at first refinement. The old man believed that with the support of his sacred source life form, the scorching roaring dragon might be able to kill the heaven-blessed dojo master. With that in mind, the old man shouted at Xue Shua, Bai Feng, and Lan Lian. Let's make a bet. If I defeat this heaven-blessed dojo master with the bloodline of the Sky Corona Jade Spider, I won't hurt him, and you'll let me live. Bai Feng was speechless when she heard the old man's words. Old thing, let's not talk about whether or not you can defeat my brother. Even if my brother falls into a disadvantageous position, do you think I and this iron lady beside me are joking? As soon as Bai Feng finished speaking, She felt a strong gust of wind rushing towards her face. Bai Feng reached out and caught a tomato out of habit. He picked up the tomato and put it into his mouth with a smile on his face. "I've cheated a tomato!" Lan Lian was infuriated. At this moment, Lan Lian's expression was still relaxed. He recalled the exclusive skill that Xue Shua had obtained when he had completely activated the celestial jade spider bloodline after advancing to an immortal species. Lan Lian felt that it would take at most 3 minutes for this chaotic sea region to completely return to peace. The old man was enraged when he heard Bai Feng's words. His anger was mixed with hysterical despair. This anger didn't just come from the ridicule in Bai Feng's words. It was because the old man knew that he had fallen into a predicament where he would surely die today. Under this predicament, he had no hope of seeing the activation of the hibernating one. It was also impossible for them to witness the true revival of the world of spiritual energy under the guidance of the pagoda canon. The old man, who knew he was going to die, calmed down after his anger and despair. The old man looked straight at Xue Shua and said in a hoarse voice, "What the blessed dojo has done today is no different from declaring war on the pagoda canon." The old man placed his hand on his chest and looked at the crimson pagoda mark on his robe. Immediately after, a cup burning with raging flames appeared in the old man's hand. The old man chanted, "The cup of fire, ignite the flames of the heavens with the power of lava. Burn your body, scorching world Drake." As the old man chanted, the entire world seemed to become a part of the cup of fire in an instant. The power of lava at the bottom of the sea boiled violently. The power of lava formed a stream that rushed up from the bottom of the sea and poured into the cup of fire. As the power of lava poured into the goblet of fire, the entire sky was set ablaze. The world was filled with burning clouds of fire. The clouds of fire scattered flames like rain. These flocculent flames caused the temperature between heaven and earth to suddenly reach a peak. Under this intense temperature, the sea level dropped at a speed visible to the naked eye. After activating its immortal body, the scorching world Drake held the dragon-bone spear upside down. The aura of the scorching world Drake and the dragon-bone spear merged into one. After activating its immortal body, the scorching world Drake performed Spirit Return and entered its most powerful battle form. At this moment, the body of the scorching world Drake that was burning the world grew several dragon bones that broke through its flesh. These dragon bones were extremely sharp and were surrounded by a high temperature that could burn everything. The cold light that flickered at the tips of the bones manifested the lethality of these protruding dragon bones. Chapter 1174. The blazing aurochs did not engage in close combat with Xue Shua immediately. Instead, it coordinated with the sacred source life form, the goblet of fire, and directed the flames to attack Xue Shua. This seemingly perfunctory attack was the blazing aurochs' attempt to test Xue Shua's strength. The blazing aurochs had never come into contact with a heaven-blessed spirit before, let alone fight one. Hence, the blazing aurochs were unconvinced by Bai Feng, who was a level 3 immortal. Moreover, Xue Shua had just become an immortal species. However, the caution of a contractor forced the blazing aurochs to be cautious. Xue Shua did not move when he saw the flames flying towards him. Xue Shua's eyes were filled with endless sorrow and remembrance as he watched the burning world. The day his daughter was born, the day before the Jade Gui died, was the happiest day of his life. The Jade Gui that gave birth had set the world ablaze. When Xue Shua saw the same beautiful scene again, it was filled with sorrow and sorrow. He thought of his daughter, whose fate was unknown, and his wife, who had died at the hands of the 5 pages of truth. The sorrow and remembrance in Xue Shua's eyes instantly turned into determination. I thought everyone in the Tower Canon would be familiar with the uniqueness of the celestial Corona Jade Spider's bloodline. Playing with fire in front of the celestial Corona Jade Spider's bloodline, you overestimate yourself. Sundial, Extreme Yang Fire, Celestial Corona Jade Robe. When Xue Shua shouted the words, Celestial Corona Jade Robe, the setting sun in the sky shone with dazzling light. It was unknown if the sun had absorbed the light from the fire clouds. or if the light from the sun had covered the fire clouds and dimmed them. In short, only the rising sun shone with a jade-like luster. The jade-like flames formed a robe that covered Shwe Shua's body. At this moment, all the flames in the sky, including the sacred source lifeform's goblet of fire, flew towards the celestial corona jade robe on Shwe Shua's body. The celestial corona jade robe greedily absorbed all the hot flames and became more solid. Shwe Shua pointed at the spot between his eyebrows. In an instant, a bright red spot appeared on his forehead. Shwe Shua, who wore a jade robe and had blood on his forehead, walked toward the old man and the blazing world roaring dragon in a leisurely manner. No one knew if it was because the bright red color between Shwe Shua's eyebrows was too soul-stirring, or if the jade-clothed Shwe Shua was like a sun god descending to the mortal world. With every step that Shwe Shua took, the pressure that the old man and the scorching world Oregon had to endure increased. The blazing world roaring dragon could no longer endure the pressure that Shwe Shua was exerting on it. It suddenly attacked Shwe Shua. As soon as the heavy fist, which was covered with bone spikes, touched Shwe Shua's sky gui jade robe, the left arm of the dragon, which had activated its immortal body and entered the soul return state, was burned into nothingness by the robe. Shwe Shua looked at the scorching world roaring dragon in front of him and said, "The temperature of the celestial corona jade robe is the temperature of the sun's surface. A main dragon species Fae that hasn't even condensed a dragon ball has to fear the sun even if it knows how to play with fire." As he spoke, Shwe Shua spread his arms and embraced the blazing world roaring dragon. Shwe Shua did not loosen his hold on the blazing world roaring dragon no matter how it struggled in his arms. After a while, there was only an immortal body left in Shwe Shua's arms. The dragon on the immortal body was the blazing world roaring dragon's original appearance. The immortal body was constantly changing its shape, switching back and forth between the blazing world roaring dragon's fourth phase immortal body and the blazing world roaring dragon's immortal body. Shwe Shua casually stored the blazing world roaring dragon's immortal body into the diamond phase storage box. Then he waved his hand, and the sky gui jade robe separated into a ribbon. It wrapped around the old man, who was holding the cup of fire and had just summoned 2 creation breed phase. Shwe Shua tossed the cracked cup of fire in his hand. The remnant of a 6-star sacred source life form was considered a good item. Shwe Shua secretly looked forward to it. If my daughter hadn't died, Sister Ziching could have forged the remains of the 6-star sacred source life form, the goblet of fire, into a precious artifact for my daughter. Blue Lotus eyes were filled with admiration as she looked at Shwe Shua, who stood shoulder to shoulder with the setting sun. Blue Lotus seemed to see the orange-haired woman who always had a smile on her face, a smile brighter than the sun. Bai Feng just stared at Shwe Shua with her mouth wide open and kept muttering, "Hugging a sister and killing her, hugging a sister and killing her, hugging a sister and killing her." Everything was as Blue Lotus had expected. Within 3 minutes, the sea region that had been bustling for a long time had calmed down. The only difference from before was that a romantic island had disappeared from this part of the sea. Blue Lotus, who continued to rush toward the Radiance Federation, slowly recovered from the excitement of destroying the 3 pagoda layers. She suddenly remembered that Big Sister Ziching had said, "If someone is looking for trouble, don't be afraid." What if they were to look for trouble now? However, even if they took the initiative to look for trouble, Blue Lotus felt that Big Sister Ziching would not blame them. When Shwe Shua had said he wanted to go on a mission and Big Sister Ziching had agreed, Big Sister Ziching must have thought of this scene. As the Big Sister of the Heaven-Blessed Mansion, Big Sister Ziching had always been calm and could suppress things. Apart from Shwe Shua, the one who wanted to take revenge for Yugui the most was probably Big Sister Ziching. Others might not know, but Blue Lotus knew that after Yugui had died, Big Sister Ziching had left the Heaven-Blessed Mansion once. When she had returned, she had been seriously injured and had only recovered not long before Shwe Shua had become an immortal. Blue Lotus did not know what Big Sister Ziching had done, but she was sure that it had something to do with the pagoda cannon. Suddenly, Blue Lotus frowned. Crimson Page? What the hell is Crimson Page? Shouldn't the 8 pagodas in the pagoda cannon be the Tower of Destiny, the Tower of Revival, the Tower of Eternal Sin, the Tower of Instant Destruction, the Tower of Truth, the Tower of Whipping, the Tower of War, and the Tower of Decay? The page of the pagoda canon should be the Destiny page. When did the Tower of Destiny become the Crimson Tower? The Destiny page became the Crimson page? Blue Lotus was very clear about the nature of the pagoda canon. Every leader and chanter of the pagodas in the pagoda canon had supreme faith in the pagodas. Therefore, it was impossible for the leader and chanter to remember the names of the pagodas and leaders they were in. Therefore, Blue Lotus firmly remembered the Crimson Tower and the Crimson Page in her heart. She planned to ask Big Sister Zicheng when she returned to the heaven-blessed mansion and see if she knew what was going on. After traveling for almost an hour, Bai Feng suddenly slapped Xue Shua's back excitedly and laughed heartily. "Brother, you have obtained the exclusive skill, Heavenly Phantom Jade Robe, after advancing to an immortal species. You usually look serious, but I didn't expect you to be even more flirtatious than me." Xue Shua was startled by Bai Feng's sudden slap and started coughing. He looked at Bai Feng in confusion and felt that she was not very smart. Also, what was the flirtatious that Bai Feng mentioned? Was there really someone in this world who was more flirtatious than Bai Feng? If you like this book, please come to the main QQ reading site to support the original version. Requesting for a full subscription. Recently, there has been a lot of good stuff in these few chapters. Everyone, please read it carefully. Also, please request for recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, full subscription and tips. Button writes late into the night and is extremely diligent. Recently, the map has changed and the results have dropped drastically. Sob, 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 sob. I hope everyone can support Button. End of this chapter. Chapter 1175. Upon seeing that Bai Feng was being stupid again, Lan Lian threw 7 tomatoes at her. 5 of them were caught by Bai Feng, while 1 was caught by her mouth. Bai Feng simply did not have the space to catch the 7th tomato, so she could only watch the tomato hit her face and blossom. Thinking that they were going to the Radiance Federation this time, Lan Lian assumed the posture of a big sister in the team. The 3 of us should report to Zhao Xie and Night Leaning Moon before going to the Radiance Federation this time. Along the way, we've also heard the news that the Azure Federation's 2 Azure envoys brought sequence 90 to 100 Azure 100 out of the Radiance Federation. In this case, it's fine if we don't get into trouble when we go to the Radiance Federation's territory. If we get into trouble, even if we're the blessed spirits of the undying species, as the Hall Masters of the Heavens Blessed Dojo, the Radiance Federation will not give us any face. Upon hearing that, Xue Shua nodded and recalled that the Moon Empress and Chief Guard Yi had helped Yugui. Although he had not been able to save Yugui's life, Xue Shua still had a grateful look on his face. Bai Feng had also used her tongue to clean the tomato sauce on her face. Upon seeing Lan Lian's serious face, Bai Feng said smugly, "What trouble can we get into? What kind of trouble can we get into? If the people in the Radiance Federation don't take the initiative to provoke me, I won't take the initiative to cause trouble. But if they provoke me, I can't swallow my anger." Upon hearing that, Lan Lian looked at Bai Feng speechlessly as though she was looking at a fool. "Then when we reach the Radiance Federation, let's split into 2 teams and act separately. I'll be in one team with Xue Shua, and you'll be in the other team. The Radiance Federation has 7 stabilizing weapons. If you're not afraid, go ahead and show off. If something happens, don't look for Xue Shua and me. We don't have any face in the Radiance Federation." Upon hearing Lan Lian's words, Bai Feng wanted to refute, but she thought of the Radiance Federation's legendary 7 stabilizing weapons. She subconsciously shrank her neck and did not dare to be naughty anymore. While the immortal battle was happening on the island, Luo Ye's maiden heart, which had not been stirred for almost 10 years, was once again stirred. As a noble lady from a Class 2 Creation Master family, anyone in the town would have to bow and address her as Mississippi. Growing up in such an environment, Luo Ye didn't believe in love at all, let alone love at first sight. But this person is like a rainbow. When he meets the sky, he will know that he is there. At this moment, looking at the boy running towards her, Luo Ye believed in the so-called love at first sight. At first glance, Roya's eyes couldn't move away from the figure that was running towards her. Colorful fireworks ignited in Luo Ya's heart. This made Roha feel a throbbing from the depths of her soul. The young man was in a sorry state. His clothes had been cut open for some reason. It was also covered with sticky mud, which had now completely dried up. As the young man ran, his clothes would be pulled, and the dried mud would be crushed. The youth's face was also covered in mud. However, even though the young man was in such a sorry state, he still faintly exuded a refreshing aura. It was like a small white poplar bathed in the sun. Not only that, but with Luo Ya's eyesight, she could tell at a glance that the youth's clothes were extraordinary. The jewels hanging from the youth's torn spirit chi clothes were produced from the Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rift. Such jewels weren't cheap in the Divine Wood Federation. Just from the clothes, Luo Ya could determine that this youth was a noble like her. Luo Ya thought that she wouldn't be able to control the desire in her heart and would treat the youth like other playthings in the past. However, apart from the love at first sight, Luo Ya's desire was completely suppressed at the bottom of her heart. The beautiful throbbing made Luo Ya shy, and she subconsciously tugged at her clothes. She shook the purple fur cloak that symbolized wealth that was draped over her body. The Dry Cliff Bandits' leader, Fu Di, was also startled when he saw Lin Yuan. From the color of Lin Yuan's hair and eyes, Fu Di could determine that the youth in front of him was from the Deep Lush Federation. The Deep Lush Federation was a federation with a commercial civilization, and there were many rules that needed to be secretly followed. One of the rules was that within a region, as long as the Deep Lush Federation's caravans were stationed to hold a gathering and trade goods, the other Deep Lush Federation's caravans couldn't stay here and compete for resources. It could be said that 99% of the people from the Deep Lush Federation that appeared in the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation's territory were members of the caravans. Of course, there were always exceptions. The Deep Lush Federation, which was a federation with a commercial pillar, also had some mysterious reclusive clans. It was rumored that the reclusive clans controlled immeasurable wealth. When the Deep Lush Federation's reclusive clans' descendants were young, they would choose to train in the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation's territories. The reclusive clan's descendants that went out to train would often have powerful retainers following them to deal with any possible emergencies. As the leader of the Dry Cliff Bandits, Fu Di could definitely be considered an experienced adventurer. Even if he hadn't been to this forest before, just based on the strength of the phase he encountered, Fu Di could determine that there wouldn't be any overly powerful phase in this forest. Otherwise, they would have been attacked by powerful phase if they swaggered around in the forest. Fu Di had been searching for good goods for Luo Ya all these years. Therefore, Fu Di understood Luo Ya's preferences the best. The youth in front of him had dirt on his face, and he couldn't see his appearance clearly. However, the youth gave off a feeling that Luo Ya definitely liked. Fu Di was certain that after wiping the youth's face clean, as long as the youth wasn't ugly, Luo Ya would definitely love him. If Luo Ya was happy, she or the other members of the Dry Cliff Bandits might be able to obtain some Creation Master resources. This way, the overall strength of the Dry Cliff Bandits would be enhanced. Fu Di originally wanted to ask 2 members of the bandits to capture the youth. However, Fu Di then thought about it. If he personally brought the youth over, it was possible that Luo Ya would be happy and generously give him some rewards. Selfishly, Fu Di took a step forward and yelled at Lin Yuan. "Kid, get over here. You are from the Deep Lush Federation's caravan, right?" Just as Fu Di shouted, he heard Luo Ya say angrily to him, "What are you shouting for? Be civilized. What kind of manners are you shouting?" After hearing Luo Ya's words, Fu Di was confused. "Big sister, your voice is much louder than mine just now. Also, when did Big sister talk about manners?" Under the watchful eyes of the 300-meter bandits, "Big sister, you have had a lot of fun too." Immediately after, Fu Di saw Luo Ya's face blushing as she stepped forward and spoke to the youth who had stopped. Chapter 1176. Big brother, come over here. Big brother, come over here. While speaking, Luo Ye took out a silk handkerchief and handed it to him from afar. She said even more shyly, "We have water here. Big brother, wipe your face with the handkerchief first. Don't be afraid. I am from Nanma City's 2-star family, the Luo family. If you encounter any trouble, you can tell me directly. I might be able to help you." Luo Ye's delicate voice sounded. He subconsciously thought of Wang Fuxiang. Her voice is too coquettish. Then he thought of what the 5 dry cliff bandits had said. Lin Yuan felt that Luo Ye's current state was somewhat different from what the 5 scouts had said. While he was thinking, the jaws of the 300 dry cliff bandits, including Fu Di, almost dropped to the ground. Because in their impression, they didn't remember when Roha spoke to someone in such a tone. However, Fu Di's brows immediately furrowed. He looked at Lin Yuan with a somewhat complicated gaze, which was then filled with determined killing intent. Fu Di was ambitious and rather courageous. However, the dry cliff bandits had been developing for many years, and they could only barely maintain their level. This was because no matter how hard Fu Di and the dry cliff bandits worked, they wouldn't be able to increase their combat power significantly without the resources of creation masters. It was possible to find creation masters to help with Radiance dollars and spiritual ingredients in the Radiance Federation. However, creation masters were absolute nobles in the Divine Wood Federation. If you took the deep Brahmin dollars and spiritual ingredients to find a creation master for help, they wouldn't just refuse to help without any connections. They might even steal the deep Sanskrit coins and spirit materials you've brought with you. The Dry Cliff Bandits' current development was all because Fu Di had met Luo Ye and obtained creation master resources from her. Therefore, no matter what, Fu Di had to tie Luo Ye to the Dry Cliff Bandits' war chariot. Fu Di had always been very confident about this. This was because Fu Di knew that Luo Ye was a playboy. He just had to constantly find new stimuli for Luo Ye according to her preferences. Luo Ye would always stay in the Dry Cliff Bandits and occasionally pour some creation master resources into the Dry Cliff Bandits when she was in a good mood. But now, there was a player who didn't play by the rules and suddenly shyly played with feelings. To put it simply, Roha didn't need any new stimulation. This situation will make him and the Dry Cliff Bandits lose their role in Roha's hands. In the worst-case scenario, Luo Ye might be waiting for the youth from the Deep Fanatic Federation to leave before leaving with him. When that time came, the Dry Cliff Bandits would return to their previous state of not having any creation master resources. Fu Di had thought things through clearly, but it wasn't easy to put them into practice. Fu Di felt that if he rashly killed the youth in front of him, Luo Ye would definitely not be willing. Luo Ye's main fei, the Mist Anti-Poison Moth, was Gold 7/Flawless. Fu Di's main fei, the Flesh Devouring Vine, was only Gold 7/Elite. Although the Devouring Vines and the Mist Anti-Poison Moths were of the same level, there was a difference in quality. Looking at the shyness in Luo Ye's eyes, as well as the inexplicable affection, Lin Yun couldn't help but laugh. Fu Di was sure that as long as he made a move against this youth, Roha wouldn't hesitate to attack him and the 300 brothers behind him. Fu Di prayed that after the youth wiped his face, he would reveal a beehive garlic nose, purple lips, and triangular eyes. His face would also be covered with spots and bumps. However, this thought was completely shattered in Fu Di's mind in less than 5 seconds. After wiping away the mud, the youth's face was clean and fair, with distinct edges. He had thick eyebrows and long eyelashes, and his eyes were bright and full of expression. It was as if a bottomless pool was brewing in his bright and piercing eyes. While the youth's temperament was gentle, it also carried a very high-level mystery. The flawless nose on the youth's face increased the charm of his eyes by at least 30%. Seeing that Roha was so shy that she lowered her head and didn't dare to look at the youth, the killing intent in Fu Di's eyes intensified. He tried his best to resist the urge to attack the youth. The rest of the Dry Cliff Bandits weren't fools. They naturally knew that the current development of the Dry Cliff Bandits was all due to Roha's creation master resources. Lin Yuan's appearance gave everyone the same sense of crisis as Fu Di. Roha's back was facing Fu Di and the Dry Cliff Bandits, so she couldn't see their eyes. However, Lin Yuan could see it clearly. The corners of Lin Yuan's mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. He glanced at Fu Di and the bandits behind him. He opened his mouth and thanked Roha in a clear voice. Roha's current situation made Lin Yuan adjust his original plan at the right time. Originally, Lin Yuan only wanted to use Roha and the others to establish a relationship with the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Then he would capture Roha and bring her to the underground palace and use any possible means to get the information he needed from her. He would also get rid of the information and understand the Divine Wood Federation's situation in a real sense from the natives. However, Lin Yuan now felt that it was more useful to leave Roha outside than to capture her and bring her back to the Forbidden Area. Roha came from a 2-star family in the Divine Wood Federation's Nanmu City. She definitely had a transcendent status in Nanmu City. Through Roha's relationship, it might be easier for him to obtain spatial spiritual materials than through the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Of course, this didn't mean that Lin Yuan had decided to give up on establishing a relationship with the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan. Lin Yuan planned to use both sides of the relationship. Luo Ye had been communicating with Lin Yuan as the young lady of Nanmu City's 2-star family. He didn't even mention that he was the vice commander of the Dry Cliff Bandits, as if he wanted to draw a clear line between himself and the Dry Cliff Bandits. The sense of urgency in Fu Di's heart grew stronger. Fu Di stepped forward and said to Luo Ye, "Miss Luo Ye, the purpose of our Withered Cliff Caravan's trip this time is to obtain some metals, spirit materials, and furs from the Iron Hammer Federation. This little brother is obviously from the Deep Burn Federation. Miss, can you ask this little brother if he knows where the Deep Burn Federation's caravan is? That saves us the trouble of searching everywhere." When Fu Di came forward to talk, Luo Ye immediately became nervous. Even if the people of the Deep Lush Federation weren't merchants, there wasn't a single person who didn't hate the bandits. Bandits were different from bandit groups. Bandit groups mainly looted resources. After accomplishing their goal, they wouldn't kill the members of the Deep Burn Federation's caravans. However, the bandits were different. Luo Ye could no longer remember how much blood the Dry Cliff Bandits had stained their hands. However, when Luo Ye heard Fu Di refer to the Dry Cliff Bandits as the Dry Cliff Caravan, her expression relaxed. Luo Ye's expression relaxed, and she gave Fu Di an appreciative look. Then, she took out a bottle of spirit liquid and threw it to Fu Di. End of this chapter. Chapter 1177. Upon seeing the bottle of dark red spirit liquid that Luo Ye gave him, Fu Di revealed an ecstatic expression. He did not know how long he had begged Luo Ye for this bottle of spirit liquid. Luo Ye had always held this bottle of spirit liquid in her hand and had no intention of giving it to him. However, because he had mediated, Luo Ye had given him this bottle of spirit liquid. With this bottle of spirit liquid, Fu Di's main fei, the flesh-devouring vine, could also be upgraded to flawless, just like Luo Ye's mist anti-poison muff. While pleasantly surprised, Fu Di's heart was also more worried. Such a generous reward showed that Luo Ye cared about the youth in front of her. Luo Ye was afraid that the youth would find out about her identity as the Dry Cliff Bandits' deputy commander, which would arouse his disgust. This also showed that Luo Ye was not playing around this time. She was serious. While Fu Di was pondering, he heard the youth's clear voice. A Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift opened up ahead, and I saw a Class 3 spiky beetle. In the dimensional rift, I got separated from my retainer. I am not from the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan, but I know that there is a small caravan that is holding a gathering more than 100 kilometers north. As he spoke, he no longer tried to restrain his aura like before. When he relaxed and restrained his aura, Luo Ye suddenly felt that the youth in front of her had an indescribable noble aura. This kind of noble aura could only be cultivated by those who were truly held up to the clouds. Luo Ye had only seen such a noble aura in the Divine Wood Federation's main city's Class 3 or Class 4 family members. After this touch of noble aura was revealed from the youth's body. The gems produced from the Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rift on the youth's clothes seemed to have turned into clay. They were completely suppressed by the youth's aura. It was like placing a piece of fluorite next to a slate, and one could easily feel the fluorite's luster. However, if the slate was moved away and replaced with a piece of glass-type jade, in comparison, the fluorite would become dim. Luo Ye was even more fascinated by Lin Yuan's noble aura. In fact, Lin Yuan had deliberately released a few layers of his aura because he felt that since he wanted to build a relationship with Luo Ye, he had to show the corresponding foundation. Only by taking out the corresponding foundation could Luo Ye ignore other factors. He was still willing to trade with him sincerely. After Lin Yuan pointed the way, Fu Di gritted his teeth and led the 300-meter brothers toward the deep lush Federation's caravan. Luo Ye originally wanted to invite Lin Yuan to call them banana wood elephants. But when he saw the banana wood elephant throwing out brown objects from its tail from time to time, he hurriedly rejected Luo Ye's invitation. This banana tree elephant had just been fed by the dry cliff bandits, so there was no space left in its stomach. He was in a hurry to pour it into his stomach. If one were to ride on the back of a banana tree elephant, with the digestion speed of the elephant, the smell would definitely not dissipate. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan had rejected its request to ride with it, it could sense the disdain in Lin Yuan's eyes toward the banana wood elephant. Roha directly commanded 3 members of the dry cliff bandits to lead the banana tree elephant to the back of the group. The banana wood elephant was now a Silver X/Elite Fae and was just a step away from reaching gold. Since Lin Yuan was so disgusted with the banana tree elephant, it was clear that he looked down on it. This made Luo Ye even more convinced that Lin Yuan's foundation was extraordinary. Luo Ye thought to herself, if Lin Yuan is an ordinary person in the Deep Enlightenment Federation, the old man at home will never allow me to marry him. But if Lin Yuan is a person with a foundation, then the snobbish old man at home might not be so opposed. At the thought of this, Luo Ye's heart suddenly tightened. A thought appeared in her mind. What if Lin Yuan's family was more powerful than the 2-star family that she was in? At the thought of this, Luo Ye felt that she should treat Lin Yuan better. After walking for less than an hour, Fu Di had sent at least 2 people to deliver food to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan did not reject it. It was not that Lin Yuan looked down on Fu Di, but the Princess Luo Ye's vicious venom law had already reached Myth 3. With the protection of the Myth 3 vicious venom law, even if a platinum venom-type Fae bit him, he would only suffer some superficial wounds. At most, Lin Yuan would suffer some superficial wounds. After eating the 2 pieces of bread that she had put the bronze intestine-severing stone garlic's juice, he did not die from the pain in his stomach. He was still chatting and laughing with Luo Ye, as if nothing had happened. In the team, Fu Di fiercely threw the bottle in his hand on the ground and cursed softly. When I go back, I'll burn your store. I'll beat you half to death. You dog. It's fine that you usually sell my hemostasis medicine with shoddy goods and cheat me of my money. You're too damn black-hearted, but you're selling fake poisons. The more Fu Di thought about it, the angrier he got. He took out another piece of bread and put jam in it. Then, he steeled his heart and said to the vice-captain beside him, who was in charge of the dry cliff bandits' supplies. Thunder, take out the tail of the pinnacle gold rotten blood hook scorpion we got. Upon hearing that, the burly man called Thunder by Fu Di took out a walnut-shaped fruit. He threw the walnut-shaped fruit on the ground, and a large pile of messy supplies appeared on the ground. Upon seeing this, Luo Ye, who was walking in front of the team, said with dissatisfaction, Fu Di, what are you doing? I didn't give you a walnut for you to use like this. The storage ability of the bronze walnut tree's walnut storage ability will disappear after 10 uses. Don't tell me you don't know this common sense? Hearing Luo Ye's words, Fu Di hurriedly smiled. I need to pick some materials and trade them with the Deep Vendor Federation's Merchant Guild for hides and metals. When Luo Ye heard this, she immediately felt that she had wronged Fu Di. After thinking for a moment, Luo Ye threw a bottle of spiritual liquid at Fu Di and said, I concocted this bottle of spirit fluid myself. It can upgrade a pinnacle bronze Fae to silver. If you don't need it, just watch and see how it's distributed. Holding the spirit liquid that Luo Ye threw over, Fu Di wasn't happy. Instead, a vicious look appeared on his face. Fu Di's words were mainly to see if Luo Ye had made up her mind to let the Withered Cliff Bandits disguise themselves as the Withered Cliff Caravan and give up on robbing the Deep Cult Federation's caravan. As expected, Luo Ye gave up. Fu Di, who was on the road again, took the rotten blood hook scorpion's tail and squeezed the venom into the bread's jam without leaving a trace. Fu Di sneered in his heart. "Kid, you were lucky to eat a fake poison. This time, I'll let you eat the venom from the pinnacle gold rotten blood hook scorpion's tail. Let's see if you will die." Chapter 1178. Fu Di was afraid that Lin Yuan would smell the faint fishy smell of the rotten blood hook scorpion's venom in the jam, so he added 2 more spoonfuls of jam to the bread. Fu Di quickly walked to Lin Yuan's side while holding the bread with added ingredients. He grinned and said very politely to Lin Yuan, "Brother, I wonder how long it will take for us to trade with the Depreme caravan when we reach our destination. This time, we, the Dry Cliff Bandits, the Chamber of Commerce has prepared a lot of resources. I'm sure we won't be able to finish all of them by nightfall. Have another piece of bread. I won't be hungry at night. I've added a lot of jam from Nanmu City into this bread. I guarantee it'll be delicious." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at Fu Di playfully. Lin Yuan's eyes alarmed Fu Di, and he subconsciously thought that Lin Yuan had discovered something fishy about the bread. Before Fu Di could figure out what the problem was, a voice suddenly rang out. Immediately after, Fu Di's entire face turned black. "Roha," he said that there was a lot of jam in the bread. "Do you want another one?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Fu Di subconsciously withdrew the bread that he was about to hand to Lin Yuan. The 2-star Luo family knew that Luo Ye was with the Withered Cliff Bandits. If Roha was poisoned to death, it would be his bread. The Luo clan would definitely find him and pull out his tendons and bones. With the power and connections of a 2-star family like the Luo family, there was no place for him, a leader of a small bandit group, to hide. If the Luo family placed a bounty for Creation Master resources on him, the Dry Cliff Bandits might even sell him out. Unlike Fu Di's panic and worry, when Luo Ye heard Lin Yuan ask if she wanted to eat another piece of bread, she only felt that she had received Lin Yuan's concern. His heart was filled with sweetness, as if a ball of soft honey had flowed into his heart. However, Luo Ye had already eaten a piece of bread. If she continued to eat, she was afraid that Lin Yuan would think that she was a foodie. In order to maintain the image of a lady, Luo Ye shook her head and said shyly, "Little brother, my stomach is very small, I don't want to eat anymore." Seeing Luo Ye shake her head in rejection, Fu Di's expression softened. Lin Yuan didn't intend to tease Fu Di anymore and took the bread from him. Under Fu Di's expectant gaze, he began to eat. At that moment, Lin Yuan was not in the mood to act with Fu Di. This was because Lin Yuan's mind was completely focused on the walnut that Fu Di had just taken out. The object holding walnut was a kind of spatial spirit material, even though it didn't contain much spatial energy. However, if there were enough walnuts, it would be possible to support his travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. He had just seen the function of the storage walnut. It was a very clumsy storage item. Since the Dry Cliff Bandits could afford such a clumsy storage item, Lin Yuan felt that it would not be rare in the Divine Wood Federation. In addition, when he had just eaten the 2 pieces of bread, he had clearly felt that poisonous substances had been added into them. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the vicious poison law allowed him to resist poison. If they ate a meal with poisonous substances, they would feel that the food with poisonous substances was more delicious. He had eaten this bread to verify his conjecture. As a result, Lin Yuan found that it was really the case. Apart from the sweetness and sourness of the jam and the fragrance of the wheat cake, this bread also had a special fragrance. It gave Lin Yuan the feeling of eating crispy chicken-flavored fried scorpions. While eating the bread, Lin Yuan pretended to casually ask Luo Ye, who was beside him, "Are the object holding walnuts you mentioned sold in Nanmu City?" Luo Ye's eyes lit up when she heard that. Lin Yuan had asked her if there were any object holding walnuts for sale in Nanmu City. This meant that Lin Yuan probably had plans to go to Nanmu City. However, Luo Ye was immediately puzzled. Not to mention Nanmu City, which had a 3-star family clan, had object-holding walnuts. Even in those small towns with only one-star clans, there were some of them. The puzzled Luo Ya's heart stirred. Could it be that Lin Yuan didn't know anything about the Divine Wood Federation? If that was the case, Luo Ya felt that Lin Yuan was more likely to be a descendant of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clan. When ordinary youths in the Deep Brahmin Federation were 11 or 12 years old, they would follow caravans and travel between the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. In such an environment, even a fool would not know about the object-holding walnuts. Only the descendants of the Deep Brahmin Federation's hidden wealthy clans would receive elite education from their clans from a young age. They would learn abilities and nurture their bearing. For example, social experience and common sense were all mastered in a short period of time after coming out to train. The more Luo Ya thought about it, the more she felt that she had seen through the truth. Luo Ya decided to test Lin Yuan. Luo Ya first answered Lin Yuan's question. Nanma City's auction house often has silver object-holding walnuts for auction. Occasionally, gold object-holding walnuts will appear. As for bronze object-holding walnuts, as long as you know a Class 1 creation master in Nanma City, you will be able to obtain them easily. It just so happens that I am a Class 1 creation master. I don't have any object-holding walnuts on hand, but I have 7 or 8 object-holding walnut trees at home. If you want object-holding walnuts, I will go back and nurture them, and I will be able to get plenty. When you visit Nanma City as a guest, I will give you 10. Luo Ya immediately pointed out her identity as a Class 1 creation master and expressed her goodwill to Lin Yuan. She then changed the topic and asked, "That's right. You said that you and your retainer got separated because of the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. Could your Fae have been injured by the alien insect's attack? If it was injured, I can help your Fae to heal it now." Lin Yuan shook his head in response. "I didn't summon my Fae at that time. My Fae doesn't have any combat ability, so it is useless to summon it." When Lin Yuan answered Luo Ya's question, his mind was no longer thinking about object-holding walnuts. Instead, he was thinking about the object-holding walnut tree that could produce object-holding walnuts. Lin Yuan had never seen a plant-type object-holding walnut tree before, so he wasn't sure what kind of conditions the object-holding walnut tree had to meet in order to produce object-holding walnuts. If it was in the past, Lin Yuan would still need to think of a solution. However, Lin Yuan now had Feng Shuang, Old He, and Hu Tian, who were Class 4 creation masters. In addition, when Genius executed its abilities, it also had the ability to become a Class 4 creation master. With 4 Class 4 creation masters and the 100 Questions Beast Legion, after obtaining the walnut tree, they would soon be able to harvest a large number of walnuts. If the walnut tree was easy to split and cultivate, he could even cultivate a small walnut forest. Upon hearing that, Luo Ya's eyes turned and she asked softly in a very expectant tone, "Your Fae isn't adept at combat, so it must be a support type or healing type Fae. Big brother, I want to take a look at your Fae. Can I? I can't take it anymore. My body is really uncomfortable. Tomorrow, during the day, it would be even more troublesome. Good night, everyone." End of chapter. Chapter 1179. When Lin Yuan heard Luo Ya's words, he couldn't help but raise his brows. Luo Ya's expression was shy and expectant, as though she had not asked to see the Fae but something else. In the past, if someone wanted to see his Fae, Lin Yuan would definitely not agree. It was even more impossible to summon his Fae. However, since Lin Yuan had decided to establish a relationship with Luo Ya, it was fine to summon the Fae to show his foundation. However, he did not know which one he should summon since he had so many Faes. After all, Lin Yuan had a few Faes that matched the healing type and support type without combat ability. Lin Yuan, who was in deep thought, did not slow down or immediately summon the Fae. Luo Ya did not feel anything about Lin Yuan's actions. Luo Ya had already determined that Lin Yuan was a noble. If he was not a noble, he would not be able to wear this attire, let alone have such an aura. Each gem produced in Class 1 and Class 2 underground dimensional rifts was worth about 30 deep Brahmin dollars. The difference in prices of gems of different colors would not be much, and it would only fluctuate within 10 deep Brahmin dollars. Lin Yuan's clothes were covered in mud, and the material could not be seen. However, there were at least 40 to 50 gems embedded in it. In total, the cost of the gems used to make this garment was around 1,200 to 1,500 Brahmin coins. Therefore, if this spirit chi clothing was sold in a store, it would be sold for at least 2,000 deep Brahmin dollars. Luo Ye could also afford to wear such clothes. However, if the clothes were damaged like this because of an accident, Luo Ye would definitely be reluctant. After observing along the way, Luo Ye found that Lin Yuan did not show any reluctance because of the damaged clothes. It was as though the damaged clothes were not worth mentioning to Lin Yuan. Luo Ye had already determined that Lin Yuan was a noble, but she still wanted to see his fei. The reason was that Luo Ye wanted to use Lin Yuan's fei to determine his noble status. If Lin Yuan was really a disciple of a hidden clan that had come out to train, then his contracted fei would definitely be very outstanding. After Lin Yuan ate the bread smeared with the venom from the gold carrion scorpion's tail, Fudi's mentality was completely relaxed. The carrion scorpion's poison was a kind of chronic poison, and it would first destroy the poisoned person's nerves, so that the poisoned person would not discover that he had been poisoned because of physical discomfort. Depending on the strength of the victim's constitution, the poison of an ordinary gold-rank carrion scorpion would take effect within 2 to 3 hours. Since he was using the peak gold-rank carrion scorpion venom, the time for the venom to take effect would be reduced to 2 hours. 2 hours was enough for the army to reach the Deep Vendor Federation's caravan. After the poison took effect, Lin Yuan would turn into a pile of rotten flesh, and his entire body would emit a foul smell. There were many people at the gathering organized by the Deep Enlightenment Federation's caravan, and there were also plenty of spirit chi professionals from the Iron Hammer Federation. Given Luo Ye's character and temper, she would definitely take revenge for the person she fancied. However, given Fudi's understanding of Luo Ye, she would definitely not personally check on his body that had turned into rotten flesh. There was a high chance that Roha would assign him to this job. Once he was done with the investigation, he could naturally push the blame to the Deep Lush Federation's caravans or the Iron Hammer Federation's spirit chi professionals. Driven by anger, Luo Ye would immediately kill the Deep Lush Federation's caravans and the Iron Hammer Federation's spirit chi professionals. At that time, he would only need to put in more effort to take revenge for Lin Yuan, and not only would he not be suspected by Luo Ye, he might even receive some rewards from Luo Ye. Without Lin Yuan, Luo Ye would probably take back her heart and would no longer leave the Dry Cliff Bandit King team. After making up his mind, Fu Di looked at Lin Yuan and felt that he was no different from a dead person. However, when he saw Luo Ye's request to see his fei, Lin Yuan seemed to be very hesitant. Fu Di could not help but mock. "Brother, no matter how weak your fei is, you shouldn't be embarrassed to summon it, right? Take a look at Big Brother's fei. If you could obtain Big Brother's protection in the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift, you wouldn't be in such a sorry state like before." As he spoke, Fu Di proudly summoned his gold-ranked Level 7 Flesh-Devouring Vine. Fu Di's Flesh-Devouring Vine was over 3 meters long, and it was a thick brownish-red vine that looked like a spirit snake. There were many suction cup-like tissues growing on the vine. These suction disc-like tissues could easily scrape flesh from the target after wrapping around it. However, when Lin Yuan looked at Fu Di's flesh-devouring vines, he felt that Fu Di's flesh-devouring vines were inferior to Red Thorn's gluttonous vines. The gluttonous vine could also rely on the acid in Red Thorn's body to corrode and digest flesh, while the flesh-devouring vine could only rely on brute force to scrape the flesh of its target. Even if such a phase grade was upgraded, as long as it didn't encounter a fortuitous encounter like a bloodline mutation. With a single attack method and functionality, this fei was destined to be weak in complex environments and sudden situations. As for Fu Di's claim that with his protection he wouldn't be in such a sorry state when facing the Class 1 Alien Insect Dimensional Rift, it was even more nonsensical. Under the tide of alien insects accumulated in the Class 1 Dimensional Rift, Fu Di's gold/elite flesh-devouring vine might be able to kill some alien insects in the beginning. However, he was unable to effectively replenish his energy. facing the flood of alien insects that would not stop at all. The devouring vine would soon be trampled by the swarm of insects into a pile of mud. Back then, Xan Ying and Zhang Xiaobai both had gold phase. Xan Ying's and Zhang Xiaobai's gold phase were much stronger than Fu Di's. However, an ordinary gold phase was so small in front of the alien insect tide. Even 20 gold phase would be wiped out by the class 1 alien insect tide, unless there was a power with a qualitative change that could take charge of the overall situation. For example, Spirit Guard Dong Hai's Platinum/Epic Shadow Dire Wolf. This was also why Red Thorn had been so shocking when it had spawned the Sea of Flowers to fight against the alien insect tide. Fu Di had already poisoned himself 3 times. Lin Yuan didn't intend to let Fu Di survive after this trip. Lin Yuan's disregard made Fu Di, who had a flaunting expression, look very embarrassed. When Fu Di mocked Lin Yuan, Luo Ye frowned and glared at him. No matter what, Fu Di was someone who was on the same trip as her. Fu Di's words to Lin Yuan would easily cause him to have negative emotions toward her. In order to protect her image in Lin Yuan's heart, Luo Ye hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Your clothes are dirty, and you haven't washed them yet. Summoning the Fae will likely dirty it. Why don't you? Just as Luo Ye was thinking of a way to smooth things over, the youth raised his hand. A white cat with many tails appeared in the youth's arms. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.